Welcome to Valley Strange. This is episode number 8, I believe. And this is Books of the Strange. This is our second installment. Our first one was Michelle Remembers. And Roland, I think you remember that pretty clearly.
Oh, yes.
You're clear-headed during that day.
Yeah. I mean, luckily for me, Ray, I was very alert. Yeah.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, hopefully not. That's. I mean, as expected. That's what I want to be. Just like tonight. Right.
And we just want to thank everyone for tuning in. On this episode, we're going to be discussing the book Communion, written by Whitley Strieber. And before we go any further, let's introduce everyone. In the Pacific Northwest studio, we have joining us.
Hey, this is Daniel. What's up, dudes?
And in the, I called it the Nowhere studio because I'm pretty sure you don't care.
I like that. Bumfuck Nowhere studio. That works for me. This is Roland.
Right.
Persona non grata Landia.
Yeah.
And I'm your host, Ray, coming to you from my bedroom 15 miles from the Mexican border in my own studio here, covered in horror posters. That's pretty cool.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know how cool this fucking place looks, man.
Right, yeah, they want to see.
MoQuest supplies.
Pictures.
The
posters.
Northwest Studios is really great, man. They've got Batman shit up. They've got Magic the Gathering stuff up. They've got Star Wars stuff. It's amazing. And
MoQuest really likes to personalize everyone's individual studios.
I must say that our staff, our staff, the people behind the scenes, that stock the beverages and.
Oh man, if only.
That's right. I'm sorry that
Roland, you got to pay them better.
Yeah, that's true. Gotta give them a little.
You got to really show the staff some love if they're gonna get what you need in the studio in order for you to perform.
And even though
episodes.
they take the $10 an hour for you to yell at them.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't really like it, Roland.
It's tough love. What are you talking about? I'm doing this for them. It's not for me. It's for their benefit.
But that's why you don't have beer in the fridge. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right. Damn it. You mean it's backfired? Fuck. All right.
You gotta treat the staff better, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll have to take another approach. We'll see.
Okay, so if you've been following our Valley Strange episodes, again, second installment of Books of the Strange, and we didn't get too much into this, but if those of you who are brand new to our podcast here, and over the past couple of months we've had a lot of new listeners, we want to just inform you that anytime we talk about these Books of the Strange, we're going into books on the occult and witchcraft, the paranormal, the ghostly, heebie-jeebies, aliens,
the spooky wookies,
Terrestrial.
Spookies, yeah.
Aliens.
The things that go bump in the night, we're all about that on this program.
And again, that brings us to this book that we're discussing today, which is Communion, and allegedly a true story. That is the title, actually.
Right, yeah,
Communion,
just like Michelle Remembers, allegedly a true story. And
it's about aliens, alien abduction, and contact with aliens. This is super, man. This is
so. I kind of wanted to mention this, and I think I'd spoken to you about it last night, Ray. On the topic of, or while we're still mentioning Michelle Remembers, Communion has some very similar, I guess, story elements to it that Michelle Remembers does. So if anyone's listened, in on that last one, they could probably expect a little more of the same here. And by that, I mean in that they use that regressive hypnosis to try to pull out these encounters from, what ended up being what seemed to be repressed events in the characters.
And for listeners, if you're maybe not into the alien stuff we're going to get into, but you think satanic possession is cool, feel free to check out the Michelle Remembers episode.
Yeah, that's true.
I've only listened to about a quarter of it, but I think that because I know that it was Roland, Ray, and Bryce on that. Was Brian on that app? Yeah,
Brian
he was.
on that one as well.
Right.
Brian was like
was
the, I guess the objective observer.
Right, yeah.
No, word. I was just trying to remember all the fuck was on there, but
Yeah.
I must say, I don't listen to the core of the episode, but it's good, guys. And so like, if maybe aliens aren't your thing, maybe hang with us because you like us. That'd be dope. But
Right, sure.
if maybe more satanic panic or things with Satan are more up your alley, hop back and check that episode out.
And you can also check out the episodes that follow that, that discuss pretty much a bit of satanic panic.
Right. We review a little bit of the I guess the movement or whatever itself.
Or I guess a lot of the things that I guess followed Michelle Remembers in the sense of like what triggered a lot of the sensationalism.
Right.
Things like that.
The Exorcist, the Dungeons and Dragons, just silly shit.
Just clarify, Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby that came out before Michelle Remembers.
Of course. Yes, the humble purist strikes again to keep us correct.
Well, we have a listener who is more of a humble purist, I mean, they might get upset.
Wow,
You never know.
You are the definition of humble there. Yeah. Okay. Good on you. Good on you, buddy.
Right.
That was pretty much what I was mentioning about how.
I'm surprised you got identify that wrong with your head so far up your ass, man.
Oh, it's okay. My ears still work well, so I got it. And
the ears didn't fit up his ass.
And I don't wear glasses like you cripples over there, you handicaps. So I'm cool. Like, give me a little bit of benefit of the doubt.
Called Four Eyes, Roland.
You know what would be great? All the other antics on our shows. The reason we get demonetized is because Roland hates the sight impaired.
Excuse me for being a normie without my fucking busted ass vision. God damn it.
The normie that wears goggles, everyone.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
He mocks the visually impaired.
It's pretty warm up in here with up in my ass. All right, so like it's all right. I'm happy. I'm comfortable. Fuck you guys.
Promises.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, so as we're talking about the book Communion, it is the first in the series of books written by Whitley Strieber, and the first being obviously Communion, which was published in 1987. And the second book is Transformation, published in 1988, just the year after. And this one kind of continues with the encounters from visitors and dealing with the fear of it.
So and basically, like getting through that fear of it, I think, because I'm not sure it was because it was like the updated version that we read, but in the like concluding chapters, he talks about how like he mentions transformation a bit. So I wonder like if he had this book, if he had the second book already like in mind when he was writing those final chapters, or if he added it in later.
I'm gonna say that he probably had the idea in mind, because I mean, the ending of this book doesn't seem like it was complete. Like he still had more to say. And
when it comes to transformation, because I picked up because I have a hard copy of Communion, but I picked up Transformation Breakthrough, and I think I picked up Secret School, which would be the fourth in the series. There's 5 overall.
Yeah, there's 5. Yeah.
So
I started reading Transformation, right, and I had to kind of stop because it kind of this like weird kind of like holy roller tone to it. And it was really strange. Like it had like a like you could still tell the same guy talking about the same like content, but just the tone shifted to where it really just kind of like just forced me to tune out, and I almost returned to it today, but for this episode. But
what year was Communion published again?
It was 1987.
Okay.
Transformation. A little fun fact about that is that when it came out, they placed it in fiction as opposed to nonfiction.
Because so that's cool. A cool segue that I wanted to mention. Like he's known as a fiction writer, and he'd already put out like 5 or 6 books by the time Communion came out.
Something like that. Yeah.
But they were like in the horror genre,
right?
Or
right.
in the
but he was
like historical
As far as
he was working on like a book on Russia that I think got published, and then there was another book that he talked about that he was writing about that didn't come out. But they were all like analyses of various like events in human history.
I think the book you're talking about, Daniel, is War Day. It says here that he's
War Day did come out, but there was another one that like he was writing that did not come out that he talked about in Communion.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
And actually, like War Day was talked about, I think, a little bit in the transcriptions with his therapist and Bud Hopkins about how like maybe his discussions in War Day may have influenced him somewhat in some of the shit that he like witnessed in his experiences with the visitors.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that going along as he talks about certain things and how they kind of parallel some of the characters or some of the scenarios in his past books.
Right.
Just a little bit.
And like there was another one, Wolfen.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what's about. I assume it's about like wolf people of some sort or whatever.
It's like werewolves.
Yeah. But the whole thing is like, but like they're always here and blah blah blah, and which just reading the like little brief description of Wolfen is like, that's Communion. But apparently that book came out beforehand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like So with some of that stuff in mind, I kind of have to question Strieber a little bit. And I think it's very interesting how many times in the book he talks about how he wasn't really versed in like UFO shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then later in the book, he talks about how like, in the 50s, like everyone would have been like,
he reads
in the know about this and that. Point. Well, no, like he reads some shit later, but he and Dr. Klein and Bud Hopkins, and we'll talk about Hopkins and Klein later in this discussion, but they basically made an agreement where Whitley would not read shit on UFOs during his initial like hypnosis sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want any sort of influence.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, even though like they're like, hey, this sounds kind of like this, they're like, just don't read this shit still, man.
Not yet.
Yeah. Regarding, just go through like the little other books that are in the series here. Again, you mentioned Breakthrough Daniel, which was number 3 in 1995. And it says that, again, crosses barriers into the unknown and recounts his experiences with extraterrestrials, providing very compelling proof of their presence here on Earth. And that is a quote from Goodreads there.
They're all described as autobiographies.
Yeah. They're all technically like non-fiction books.
They're all
right.
But I mean, like the subtext is Communion, a true story.
And the fourth book, he said, was A Secret School that comes out in 1997. It says where Strieber returns to his youth to recount the summer he spent at a secret, quote-unquote, secret school in the woods near his childhood home. And it was there where he learned the 9 lessons that forever changed his life and prepared him for the chilling events narrated in his previous 3 books. And then the last one is Confirmation. And that's number 5. That was published in 1999. It says Strieber gives confirmation that aliens exist. And just to give a little backstory on Whitley Strieber before we go any further, just to give our audience an idea of who he is in this world. Again, we talked about he has written other books. It says Whitley Strieber was born on June 13th, 1945 in San Antonio, Texas. So technically Valley Strange-ish because he is from Texas.
It's down the road.
And he was a horror author best known for his books The Wolfen, again we mentioned that, and The Hunger, both published before Communion, and both were made into movies. The Hunger did star David Bowie and Susan Sarandon. Which is
so they made a movie form of it. That's cool.
For both of them, actually, for Wolfen and The Hunger. And he also wrote a book with Art Bell, which is the host of, or was the host of Coast to Coast AM, called The Global Storm, and that was turned into a movie called The Day After Tomorrow.
Ugh.
And nowadays he's not really known for his fiction writing. He's more known as a person in like the UFO community. So his career hasn't really seen any more success since Communion. So, but he's still out there trucking along.
He's still doing shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And the premise of some of his later books, I am really interested in Secret School, because apparently there was this, secret knowledge he was imparted that helped prep him for his later alien experiences or whatever. Was this a byproduct of like further hypnotic regression where he was able to like pull these memories back and shit, or like, where is this shit coming from? Because, in Communion, there's at least 6 incidents he talks about with the visitors. I mean, they span from like when he was 12 and into his like fucking 30s and shit, So I'm just curious, like, where, because I'm not like saying like he's full of shit. I'm just saying like, I just want to know like where this fucking came from, because this also said it's in the woods near his childhood home, and Ray, Roland, and I have spent copious amounts of time in San Antonio, and so it's curious to see like what woods are they talking about fucking east of his childhood home.
Well, Daniel, I mean, we did live in a complex that had
little woods,
woods in the back.
Wouldn't it be fucking crazy, dude, if you lived in like a little like rent control apartment like we did, and there was like a little like just small little copse of trees, and so that's like, where he went to aliens. That'd be fucking funny, man. Like, imagine if that's where it happened, dude. Like, where we were at the fucking
that little shit hole garbage area. Yeah,
that would be pretty funny.
Near the railroad tracks.
There are little like weird signs of hobo camps every once in a while, and random trash. And your ex-wife loved that place. Now I just like walked out there and was like, man, I wish we were just like way more fucked up for this, because I mean this kind of sucks overall.
Yeah, I've got family out that they live around, some of the like neighboring little village areas in San Antonio, and you can just like walk out onto your back porch and like just 10 feet into your backyard, like you're in forest. You can go hunting and stuff. One of my nephews, he actually killed a wild pig in his backyard. Just he left out some feeders for it for a couple of days and finally popped them one day, and it's just like like you're like 20 minutes away from the fucking city, like the expressway and shit. Okay,
what a good Valley Strange story.
Killing pigs.
My point was that like there's a lot of that kind of shit around San Antonio, so it would be
but to see like,
because like Ray, where Ray and I were living, it was like fucking like right almost in the heart of the city. Like we were like what maybe 10 minutes from downtown.
Roughly about.
The same with my brother when he lived near Cuba.
Like your brother lives basically in this like it was
forest.
Across one of the main highways, but it really wasn't very far.
No, and same thing, like there's fucking they had walking parks and stuff just right across the street. But it would
so back to Communion.
Actually, at this juncture, before we get to Communion, I'd like to thank Founders Brewing Company and what is the official name for Jameson?
Well, then in that case, I want to thank J&B,
John Jameson and Sons Unlimited or Limited.
I'm not thanking.
Was it Justerini and Brooks?
These people for this beer.
Dude, I never knew what the fucking J&B stood for. So thank you for educating me.
Justerini and Brooks.
Yeesh.
It's delicious. Anywho, just a quick backstory on Communion. We have kind of hinted at what this book is about, but just again, a little trivia, a little bit of what's going into it. The book was published in 1987. And it is a recorded account / Roland mentioned this, maybe just doing like a memoir of Whitley Strieber's encounters with visitors. And he never outright says that the visitors are aliens.
No.
I don't think he ever uses that word.
He avoids that specifically.
But he only that they are non-human. And Strieber recounts his encounters through regressive hypnosis and then attempts to make sense of it all.
As fantastic as all these events are, Whitley literally thought that he was going crazy or he got raped.
Right. Or some, well, a bit of both. I mean,
but it was basically one or two scenarios
before he actually
three
starts,
if they're combined.
Before he actually starts to try to address these, repressed events, or rather, like what he considered to be hallucinations and I guess sign of possible insanity. He was pretty much on the verge of suicide, and when he finally,
in the book he mentions twice. I mean, it was the same event, but he talked about it twice about how I would have jumped.
Yeah, he would have jumped out of the window, kind of thing. Like a few days before he finally decided to be, to consider, seeking professional, help. And then after the fact, he starts to sort of
now
de-stress.
Real quick, that is the incident. We're talking about the incident that the book opens up with, which is the incident on December 26, 1985.
When he's well into his adulting years phase.
He's like 40 years old apparently when this happens.
Yeah, it's he's out with his wife and child at their cabin in San Antonio, right?
No, it was up in New York because
New York, yeah.
No,
that's right.
He's just a San Antonio native or whatever, but he and his wife and son lived in New York, and they had a apartment like in the city, and then they had a cabin in
out in the
upper state New York somewhere. Yeah,
which upper class people normally do.
Sure.
Well, I mean, they never said what Annie did, but I mean, like Whitley was a successful writer, so maybe that was able to carry like the family, because like maybe he was like a quasi Stephen King kind of writer.
You got to think at this point he had already written Wolfen and The Hunger, and both of them were I guess successful movies.
How much was a house, back then as well? Like $10, $15, right? Like.
That's true. I go an apartment in New York City at the time probably was not very much.
A full tank of gas.
$33.95. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the utilities was like $2. Rent again, you said $33.95. Car, gas, car payment is probably like $20, and gas was like 10 cents.
I bet their basic cable costs more than the house.
Oh yeah, sure. And the CD player that they probably had in there too.
Fuck. Yeah, that's right. Fancy.
Probably cost like $2,000 at that point.
Yeah, right. So that extra cabin was probably like
$40 a month, maybe.
$40 a month, yeah, probably. And the mortgage,
like that. Yeah.
And all
was
the
it was it
put in.
Was it a timeshare? Oh man, like as we'll go into like later on, recalling these incidents, sometimes kind of like I get confused as to what happens on which night.
Oh, dude, I feel it because
he jumps around a lot.
So for our listeners, like in the book, it's very organized, but when you're reading it,
it's hard. It's almost
it jumps a little bit as far as like what you remember of like what manifestation of the visitor experience was occurring.
Yeah.
And also you get fucked up later because his wife decides to go into hypnotic sessions.
Yeah.
And she is fucked up because partly Whitley fucks it up, and I'm not going to go into details, but basically there's like two ways where she's kind of like quasi-suggested potentially. But forgot my point because I forgot how Because Whitley fucking...
for instance, like I the one I remember is that Bud Hopkins, again, her confusion is kind of like my confusion as well, because Bud Hopkins
he
asked her like to go back to just go back to the
Yeah.
night, and he doesn't specify which night. So she's kind of talking about the December 26th one and the October 4th one, and they're kind of like
but
mixed
it's hard
together.
to discern, because ultimately, apart from like the events that Whitley remembers or recalls that from his childhood or whatever, and from his like young manhood, the stuff that involves his family and the guests that they had for one of the incidents, it comes up over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And he has like a slightly different perspective kind of each time. And
so his wife also jumbles those two particular events up as well. Like she, at one point they ask her like, "Oh, we're talking about the event that happened when you had your two guests," and she's like, "Oh no, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the first one." Like, so she's also very confused, and
so I wonder about the confusion of events that Whitley may have had too.
He doesn't seem as confused. He just seems to be a bit more like, or to me,
those are the selected fucking transcript things, because that's also one thing I wonder about, like what was actually published, what wasn't published. Okay. Because I think that in reality, there's probably 30-ish pages of just Whitley's interactions that we don't get to read, and then maybe 4.5 pages of Anne's transcripts.
So I kind of thought most of her accounts were, I mean, pretty much worthless because of how she.
I think that, but that's actually important, and maybe we'll cycle back to this later. But what she doesn't know is incredibly important to the narrative overall.
I think the reasons for her difficulty with remembering anything was what was interesting to me. So I guess I'll wait for that for a little bit until we go in a little more detail with her accounts, because we're kind of
we've kind of jumped a little bit. So like, Ray, could you please like bring us back to like
Strieber's? So let's go back with Strieber and his.
Okay, so I guess we're talking more from Wheatley's point of view, and he starts off the book by describing these incidents that happened to him, and this is prior to his hypnosis, so he doesn't get much further or any deeper into like what actually happens. He just kind of has like a general overview of what he remembers.
Yeah, and
a lot of that has to do with, and again, the December incident is when he actually got, I guess that's when he got abducted, and I guess from what he remembers, and that's when he had like the situation where he's in the room, or he's in that place where there's beds, and he gets an operation on him,
right? And
he talks to
comes face to face
woman, or he perceives to be a woman-ish type of being,
right? And then he later calls her a thing. He's like, he just got the impression that she was female, but when he tries to think back to it, he's again, like, no, like.
None of what he is recalling in his mind or in his own words is like concrete truth. Like
it's all like intangible suggestion that he's getting.
Yeah, he's just giving us his perception of what his reality was at that particular time.
His descriptions of those, of the humanoid encounter, like there's nothing in there that suggests gender at all. So he's just going by like an impression that he gets for some reason that he's unable to explain.
Right, and the person who is putting him under, again, we're not getting to hypnosis yet, but again, this is what he talks about first in the book. Mm-hmm. And again, very general overview of what happened. He's experiencing fear, all this terror, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then
his marriage almost dissolves entirely because he's just so like fucked up with what he's going through.
But he also makes mention that like
sense of self.
him and his wife are like so tight knit that it probably wouldn't have happened. Like she kind of stuck by him through this whole situation, even if he was kind of off the rails or whatever.
Wait, you mean like when he was like after the fact when he's experiencing?
I didn't get that sense at all. Like there was a couple times in the book where they talked about like where his because before he even like entertained the abduction tip like idea, it was like, oh, I was raped or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept all that shit close to the chest.
Himself. Yeah, he didn't talk to them to his wife or
and he does open the book
with
about
the way his like mood struck him and shit. Like he wrote in the book like how like it really like helped distance he and his wife from each other. Yada yada.
But then after the fact, when he starts to bring some of these things back, like he does mention how they're very. I think he says a true marriage is what they have. So
a deep marriage that he refers to, like particularly later in the back when in the back of the book where he's bringing up like the significance of the triad.
I'll mention that again a little later because it's sort of an interesting description when it talks about again like her sort of reasoning when she's exposed to that regressive hypnosis, but. So like at first it starts to dissolve his relationship, but that aside, like when he's sent up, he loses his sense of self, his sense of identity, and he's what is it like? He describes his sensations more than anything. Like it's kind of interesting because he gets very descriptive, but at the same time, like he doesn't really concretely say, okay, I saw this. No, it's like, okay, like everything was hazy and like I had the distinct impression that this creature was before me. I was in a I couldn't move. Like he was
one thing I thought was intriguing was the way that he decided to try to ground whether or not like things are grounded in reality.
Right. Was that when he asked
to smell
for the smell?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they're communicating. This being is communicating with him, and it asks him, how can we calm you down? And he's like, well, let me. What does he say? Like, I need something to ground me in this.
Well, I think that was in his like description of the.
Right.
Like that was in the narrative, but he asked them to let them smell him or let him smell them.
That was a very bizarre thing, but how does he describe
maybe some people find comfort in their sense of smell.
Well, the thing is like smells are one thing that aren't like associated dreams.
Yes, that's.
And I think that was like part of his like let me make sure this isn't a dream. If I can smell this, then like, oh shit,
What did he say? He smelled like cheese and sulfur.
Well, there were a few scents.
And cardboard.
I think it was cardboard when he smelled like the skin of the visitor that allowed him to smell him. But when he was like in like the waiting room the round room, he described like cheese and sulfur.
Yeah, that's right.
But maybe that was from the unwashed clothes and shit that were just left there because there were descriptions like like coveralls like strewn over furniture and shit.
He before he meets the visitor, like when he's in that waiting room, he does say that like he does comment like this place is filthy, and I don't think he actually said until later that it's like, oh, there was dirty clothes everywhere and people.
Oh no! He mentioned right off the bat that they were like strewn clothing. Yeah,
I guess I don't remember that part, but yeah, he did mention how like the room was disgusting, and forgot what they told him. They said something like, "Well, don't worry about it," or "It's not a big deal," kind of thing. I did think that was pretty bizarre though, and like I didn't think about how like how that particular sensation is disconnected from what you would expect to fool you, like in a dream, like your vision or your hearing. can be fooled. And those would have been the first things, like just offhand, like if I was going to think about something that's going to sort of center you or whatever in like some kind of situation where you're completely fucking confused, like I would to me, like I would think, okay, I want to be able to see this, or I want to be able to
well, no, because your sight can be fooled, because that could be hallucination. Right. Your hearing can also be a factor of hallucination. Your touch as well.
But smell.
Like,
that's something,
the one like isolated fucking sense. And that was really genius of him, I think, So, yeah. Hi, Ray. Are you still here?
I am. I was like actually trying to look for like an extra that I can read about some of the descriptions here.
Oh.
Because I have my tabs here.
Your endless tabs. It'd be hard to find anything in that sea of fucking plastic, bud. So for
I have my color. I have my color coding going on. So
Ray has, apart from fucking, I'm not sure what all he has underlined in the book, but there are like 60 tabs at least in this fucking book of shit he has bookmarked. It's fucking silly, and I've got like 5.
Well, it's primarily to like get like little details here and there. One of the things I wanted to say, again, this is a little not necessarily off topic, but his description of one of the beans.
Nerd.
Yeah. It was. It says he looks mean. He's little. He goes up to about the top of the lamp, looking down at me. Got eyes, big slanted eyes, a bald head. He's looking down at me, and he's got a ruler in his hand, and has a tip of silver. He touches me. I see pictures, and he was mentioning about like this.
That's one thing I love about this book. When it comes to his like, whether it's the hypnotic regression sessions or just his like, oh, this is what I remember happening sort of shit. He is a fucking author, but then he writes these like, me get hit stick, me see flash bad. Like it's just fucking funny, man. Or maybe that was the nature of the validity of these experiences, where he's like drawn like out of his intellectual state to.
He was reduced
this raw, experience of like the nuclear holocaust. They would show him some of the images, and
you can go back to Michelle Remembers' book, and when she like reverts back to being like a 5-year-old, and the way she speaks,
right,
while she's under hypnosis and stuff like that.
Well, so, that's cool, but Whitley was recalling stuff when he was in his 20s or 30s.
No, but I'm saying like whenever I think he mentions at some point when he got into that state, like he wasn't himself anymore.
Right. So he's
kind of like outside of his own
is so powerful
intellect,
to make his personality completely evaporate. It was not a theoretical or mental experience, but something profoundly physical. Whitley ceased to exist. Word. What was left was
Whitley ceased to exist. I remember him writing that at one point. Yeah.
What was left was a body in a state of raw fear so great that it swept about him like a thick, suffocating curtain, turning paralysis into a condition that seemed close to death.
I stand corrected.
He doesn't think his ordinary...
Look at you, Roland, using the book.
Yeah.
You actually read it, maybe.
I've read it. All right. And
so
like, no, like,
you,
so
buddy.
like you mentioned it perfectly here. He says he dies and a wild animal appeared in his place.
Yeah, so he's just like going on pure instinct again, hence the smell. To kind of like rationalize his kind of
I like
mental state,
your explanation of like how the sense of smell could be used to ground him, as opposed to what he actually, or what he sort of says here is that, as an animal, that's one of the basic or strongest senses that they identify with, or used to identify, their situation, surroundings, sense of smell. So, that happens to him, and he's in that filthy room or whatever, with these the little people. Right?
Okay, so speaking of little people, should we maybe talk about the visitors themselves? Because
there's various types.
Four types.
It's a little. It's a bit much.
Well, I guess there's 5 because later he mentions like the insect-like
right
entity, but
but he mentions the insect-like entity, but he also says that I don't know if I read it in the book or in one of the articles where he's being interviewed, that the insect type of entity was the one that's on the cover or the original cover.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah,
it wasn't. There were parts of it were like seemed to have an exoskeleton, and so that's where he got that sense of.
And he talked about like the false lips and shit, and like only like really the eyes were real about this entity.
Right.
And that was inscribed like on the first like version of the book, and I was kind of bummed out. Like I've seen that image, but the cover of the book that I know that you and I read, Ray, and I assume the same version that Roland read, just had like the UFO like in the horizon.
No, Roland has the original cover.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up.
I got the picture of the like.
It's funny is that the way he describes the beings seems more true to form in the movie Fire in the Sky than it does in the actual movie.
It really does. No, that's
like in the movie Communion, like those fucking beings are look like fucking Ewoks.
Right. Yeah, they're like they're
fucking
like,
ridiculous,
children,
man.
Like the size of 4-year-olds, and angry 4-year-olds fucking mobbing him or whatever. Just, but yeah, so like the main female that he speaks with has those characteristics. Like
so we should perhaps circle back and maybe just talk about the events that Whitley experienced.
Okay. Do you want to?
We haven't even talked about like him in his bedroom and experiencing bullshit.
Like specifically what happens.
Yeah, because I think that's important for people who haven't read this book.
It's when they approach him, it seems like because what happens is that everyone has gone to sleep.
Well, actually, I'll preface it with this: Whitley. He later realized why, but he became very paranoid about home security. So at this cabin they have it, even though it's like isolated as fuck, like their nearest neighbor's like a mile away or something like that.
Yeah.
He has, advanced security systems.
He gets that
motion
later.
detectors, motion detecting lights, like the whole 9 hours, and even a fucking shotgun. And like every night he does like a silent sweep of the fucking house. That's
after his encounter, right?
No.
I thought it was
no. This was before. Like he
paranoid.
He had a bit of paranoia even before that, but not something that he could rationalize. He just had it.
Because the equipment was already in place when he had some of his main experiences, and so like there were points where he was like, "Why didn't the fucking alarm go off?"
Right.
Like,
okay.
He was like, "Oh, I tried to turn the lights on. I flicked the switch.
Nothing.
The power was dead. Mm-hmm. The alarm system was still on because it had a battery backup, but it didn't matter to them."
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't. It wasn't tripped at all. That's right.
So, in this situation, with all this fantastic shit we're about to talk about, Whitley had, alarms, fucking a gun, fucking
You're right.
lights that fucking triggered on movement. It was fucking, Fort Knox. And still these things we're going to talk about happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess should we start with December 26th, which was was the first time he remembered initially?
Well, yeah, that's kind of like where we've been like hovering over.
No, it started, but we hadn't really talked about what happened.
So I mean, again, I think we mentioned that it's how it initially starts. He can feel someone in the room, right? He sees like these little figures or a little figure in the room, kind of in the dark, but he's not completely aware of that person or thing is actually there. And from what I remember reading this book is that like he goes from being in the bedroom to trying to wake up his wife. She doesn't wake up, and then he ends up in this place, this waiting room, so to speak. Do y'all have any like better recollection of that? Because I keep when I think more of like the incidents that happen, I think of the other incident with the crystal, the light, and all that shit.
Well, with the incident on December 26th, there is, some entity in like the corner of the room, and he recalls, asking, like, is there someone there? Like, there has to be someone there. Like, and then he gets rushed.
Right.
And he gets extracted from his bedroom. And then the next thing he remembers is being in the woods, sitting on like this like chair thingy, and it shoots up into space. And he describes, seeing the trees, descending from his view, and he starts getting scared because he's like, well, fuck, my family's down there, my wife, my son, I just want to be back with them. But then the next thing he remembers is being in like basically an examination room where, Ray, do you want to take over the horrors that unfold for old Whitley?
Okay,
so licks his lips.
So basically, in this scenario, Wheatley there's an operation that occurs, and he is kind of pricked.
He's in protest the entire time, though.
Yes, he is. Yeah. There was one part. Here it is. It says he's in terrible fear at this point, and this is direct from the book. It says, Can we help you stop screaming? And can we help you stop screaming? And he says, you can let me smell you. And then that's when he puts his cheek to the face, and then he smells the person.
What I think is the most like powerful interaction he has with these dudes on that incident is when they tell him that they're going to do an operation on him. And you don't have the right.
Yeah, that's actually right after here.
Then they tell him, we do have the right.
Yeah. He says, the entity says, or the being says, we won't hurt you. Says, I'm not going to let you do an operation on me. You have absolutely no right. And then it says, we do have the right. And that was it. Bang. There was nothing to it. I thought they were going to cut my whole head open, but there was nothing to it. And then Dr. Klein, the person who's performing the hypnosis, says, what happened? And he says, just a bang in the back behind the head, and that's all. Just not loud, just bang. She's sitting right in front of me the whole time, just looking at me. And they're moving around back there, and I can sense them. But I was looking at her. And she drew something up from below. And then that's when it says, Jesus, is that your penis?
Yeah.
And it says, I thought it was a woman, and makes a deep grunting sound. Which, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
That goes right in me. Another grunt. Punching it in me. And I'm going to throw up. I'm going to throw up on them. It says, then they began to try and open my mouth with their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says, what do you keep wanting to do with my mouth? What do you keep wanting to do with my mouth? It says, they keep trying to put something in my mouth. They're real. She put her cheek right up to me, and they're real. So I guess he could smell her again. And then a voice tells him that he is the chosen one. And he says, he's like, I don't believe that for a minute.
Yeah, he's like, you're full of shit.
He goes, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
And they respond, and I guess it should be mentioned that they're not. I don't know if he's speaking out loud, but they're not. Like they seem to be
almost
just
like telepathic, right?
Yeah, they're speaking into his mind.
Right.
He hears them say, "Oh no, yeah, like you're the chosen one," but he can hear a tone of amusement in their voice.
Yeah,
like like.
Well, and also
they're
like he would look at their features, and like there were other instances where he would see like amusement in their like faces,
or what he felt was amusement, not really having a real understanding of what the fuck is going on. Or
well, I was referring more like later in the book when they actually like when he decided to try to like kind of commune with them, and they did show up, and he couldn't even like fucking hit a light switch,
right?
And so all he did was smile,
mm-hmm.
and then they pissed off. But
so when he's being examined, what would you say? Like, is this the second or the third type of visitor that he runs into? Because the first ones, it's like, doesn't he mention in there that they have?
Are you talking about those dudes?
I think so. Like he mentions how they have different. They have different like roles. Like some of them are researchers, some of them are I guess soldiers, that sort of thing. I think
like that goes back to like the kind of like the four
grunts or whatever.
5 times after like with the insect-ish kind of species, but like so there were the short bluish grayish dudes,
right? The ones with the hats.
Yes, the hats, and then
they had a
like armor sort of shit with like the triangles on them.
It was like an armored skin. It didn't really seem like they were wearing an outfit. It just sort of like he just sort of describes it as their skin.
You had like the tallish, elongated ones, more like the common grays, I guess, that like are known in like modern UFO parlance. But some of these wore like cardboard suits from like the 50s, and just so I imagine them like showing up with like it's like gangsters and shit with like pinstripe suits and like fucking fedoras and shit. Like, wouldn't it be terrible if your house burned down?
Right.
The accidents happen. Come with us, and they won't.
We'll take care of you.
Oh, we wouldn't want anything to happen to you. We're your friends. Was looking out for yous.
Bend over.
One of the, I guess, it's not amusing, but it is kind of amusing parts. Again, when he's in under hypnosis and he's talking about how the voice, and I'm assuming the voice of the woman what he perceives to be a woman, says, "Can you be harder?"
Yeah,
and it says, "Can I be harder? Oh Lord, didn't know I was hard like that." He goes, "No, not with you around. I can't be harder." And the voice says, "What would you like me to be?" What would I like you to be? I'd like you to be a dream. Is what I would like you to be.
Yeah.
And the voice says, "I can't be that."
Yeah, it like completely backfires. I'm like, what the fuck did you think he was gonna say, Madonna? Oh man, that's there we go. All right,
it's the 80s.
What I needed. Just what I needed.
Michelle Pfeiffer, get it after it.
Perfect. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, he was half in, half out on there or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hadn't even realized it. He was like,
I don't know if they get any deeper.
And like, was the thing like up his ass when he was like half hard?
Yeah.
So like,
because it was like
he's talking about how he's getting pumped or whatever, and at one point they just leave it in him, and he's just there like, okay, and then that's when they start asking him like, okay, so how like, how's it looking down there? And because he does mention like he doesn't remember when it stopped, like he doesn't remember when like, I guess when they pulled out.
But they showed it to him.
Yes, they do. And
they're like,
his description
hey, here's the thing that's in you. Woo.
Yeah, it's very penisy shaped with a
cage on it.
A cage on the tip. I'm like,
that's some heavy duty shit.
Thought
right there.
like maybe it's to extract like fecal matter or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, did they let him? Like they showed it to him. I was like, did you smell it? Like I don't like why.
It's like when they just take you to Taco Bell and then wait like 6 hours.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. There you go. This is what you
And
did.
I think for this story, like this is the one thing that kind of made everyone kind of pass it off as like whatever.
We were talking about that. The media, the media fucking like turned it into a joke, like ha 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 ha, butt stuff, aliens. He got probed, you know, and like,
and from his perspective, he's very serious about the fact that he got raped.
Like, so I was telling Ray, this is the kind of shit.
He's very like clinical about it, you know, like
this is what discourages people from even wanting to talk about this stuff. The fucking stigma that like the fucking community like destroys them with kinds of things like this. We can laugh because like ha ha ha, you know, like, but like those motherfuckers are supposed to be professionals. They're supposed to be fucking like reporting like an assault, and instead, you know,
I guess speak for yourself because I mean I don't laugh about this shit, you know.
Oh, like, whatever, dude. This is like you've seen. So I mean, in that like how we can be immature.
Daniel, can you get closer to the mic
with our humor?
Yeah, sure.
You know, like it's like a
that's a whole inch difference. Holy shit!
It's like a fucking Roland. South Park episode or whatever, where like fucking the first one ever, Cartman ends up getting probed and like shooting a giant antenna out of his ass. Like it's funny, but like if you disconnected the humor from that and just like looked at the context, like okay, a child went up into space and was like sexually assaulted. You know, that's not.
Well, yeah, and with all these visual experiences, it's like, you know, nobody has ever declared like I was there. I had a Coors Light with fucking Zimbop, and
they gave me a reach around, and like
they gave me a reach around while they put that probe up my butt, and that was my one condition, and I was fine with it.
Yeah,
and now release, I'm on baby. Unsolved Mysteries talking about this. You know, nothing like that's ever happened, man, and it's bullshit because like.
No,
you know, Ray, you've talked about how you're ready and shit, and like at this point, I was like, man, I'm fucking ready. Like, let me either get like pull up in a spaceship or fucking see some like city commissioner morph into a reptilian for a second. You know,
they just like you just see Ray like being pulled up into the fucking UFO, and like before they even say hello or do anything, he's like taking his belt off and like pulling down his pants, and they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like what? What?
I imagine Ray going the beam, and then whoever's around him, Ray just has thumbs up to them.
It's like high five, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you get formulated tonight. Oh boy. Yeah.
Not even like, you know, and they could just like, you know, make him be a mining slave on some like asteroid colony, like 14 fucking million light years away. But as Ray's being taken away in the initial fucking beam, he's just like,
yeah,
it's real.
He's getting pulled up there, but first, all right.
And then you get to the ship and you're like, "Hey guys," and they hand you a fucking pick.
Right.
you go. No, wait. Like, hold on. Let me undo my pants here. Like,
right. Yeah. Hold on.
Like, no. That's not necessary. We need to go mine some fucking plutonium.
Right. We're just gonna put you to work.
Aww.
Oh no, yeah, this ain't that kind of outfit. Yeah, no. So yeah, no. Like my whole point aside was that like the guy, you know, had to. He tried to talk about these things. Yeah, I did. Yeah, like he tries to talk about this stuff or whatever, and they trivialize it, and so he does. He goes back to it. Couple of times
and not even just in the book, but like even in interviews that he's done, he's talked about in a very serious tone about how
I mean,
like it's made a joke that he's raped, and it it's kind of hard.
If he was a comedian, or if he were a comedian, he would be the straight man every time. Like this guy is just like, you know, in all of the fucking little tidbits of interviews that I've like checked out with him, he is just completely level-headed with it. It's not like, and the aliens, they came, and my wife, she wouldn't wake up. He's just like, and then this thing happened to me, and it was really strange, and I just have to assume that after all of my research, like they're from somewhere. They might be us, but I don't know that. But I've been able to communicate with them.
It's funny because we talked about that, Roland, like how he kind of has like the same kind of tone and same tone when he talks about his story, like kind of like Bob Lazar. Like there's no, doesn't sound fantastical. He's just kind of, this is what happened, and this is what I saw, and I can't claim that there's aliens or this and that.
The Sky guy.
Yeah, like Travis Walton, same thing.
Yeah, Travis Walton, thank you. Yeah, like these are all guys that is like, there's like, and I've checked out some Bob Lazar shit, and they're all just very level headed. There's like
reporting facts about it.
So that kind of like makes it a little bit more difficult to kind of put them in that they're bullshitting category.
Right. No, yeah.
But anyways,
I think that we should look at the sales of Whitley Strieber's books, though. Maybe he was in a slump, and he was like, "Let me get this alien shit going," and it's all bullshit.
I don't know if I think he was still doing pretty well at this point. He was in a good financial position.
I'm just fucking around,
speaking of like we're talking about this main December 26th incident, but let's kind of like go over like the incident prior to this, which was on October 4th, where they were at the cabin.
October 4th, 1985.
And they had their friends, Jacques is his name, I guess, and his lady friend Annie.
Let's just go with Jacques.
Jacques, yeah.
It was like Annie Gottlieb or something like that.
Yeah, I don't want to like go over their names because I can barely pronounce their last names.
I can't remember what Jacques. So it's like Jacques.
Yeah, it's not really important. They're not. They're
minor persons in this whole situation.
Just the background, though, I guess I'll go through it. There was one time in October where Whitley, his wife Anne, their son, who's never named in the book, and their friends Annie and Jacques were going to go up to the cabin and just have like a couple days out sort of thing. And they drive out later than they usually do, so they have like dinner at a restaurant, and it's very important that none of them got hammered. It's like they had a glass of wine, and then it was described as a drink. Then they go home, and everyone's just like like tuckered out, so they all immediately go to bed. And then, who wants to take it out from there, Ray or Roland?
How about Roland?
So I don't quite remember so well.
Did you read the book? Yeah, it's fine.
No. Like what stood out to me about this was interesting was how
Ray, take over. I guess.
God damn it.
No, Roland, continue. Go ahead.
Dick. So at one point, like it's in the middle of the night, and their house gets filled with light. The guest Jacques recalls that he sort of wakes up and he thinks that it's like 10 in the morning, like it's broad daylight, but he knows that it's not, like it's in the middle of the night, but they can clearly see everything. And later they describe an actual ship that's floating above the house. It was a giant crystalline shape, giant crystal shaped house that was ship that was hovering above the house. And in this Strieber, I think he starts it off like how he does the other encounter. He was experiencing a form of like what seems to be sleep paralysis.
Yeah. He doesn't say that. I don't think he says that necessarily, but he says he can't move.
But
he never says that.
he gets the feeling. Yeah, no, he never says that, but that's the way it seemed to me. That like how he starts out most of these encounters.
That's a perfect description of like the phenomenon.
He's aware of his surroundings, but he can't do anything. Like he's completely unable to react to respond to it. But he's aware of them of what's going on.
He does mention that he wakes up, sees the light, and then kind of has like a sense of urgency.
He thinks the roof is on fire.
Yeah, but then he goes back to sleep.
Right back to sleep immediately.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And one point,
one thing that sorry. Like, Roland, continue a sec, but like one thing I think that's like neat, it's like right in the book when he talks about like when he goes right to sleep, he's like, that is not the first like unusual thing I would do that night, and that like comes back a couple other times with his like experiences with the visitors, just because like the way they're able to disable him or whatever, just totally makes him like react like irrationally to like crazy stimuli.
Don't they
go ahead, Roll.
like tap him on the head with that ruler wand?
The
wand.
Yep.
The one I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was trying to remember if the Greys in particular there were the same as the ones that visited him at the later date. The little guys with the hats, or if it was another.
I think it was another type.
Was
it? Well, yeah, like in this sense, yeah.
Yeah. Because he talked about there's like 4 types, but then like 2 or 3 of the types of the aliens were all like kind of just variations of the same dudes.
Right. I think for the most part, their eyes.
But
were
I think like the little like blue gray grunts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He said like the ones in blue are like wearing like overalls, right?
There's one that he describes as wearing like kind of like armor,
square plated,
like they're like triangle discs and circle discs.
Mm-hmm,
and then the other guy's wearing blue coveralls.
Right.
But then I just got reminded now of like potentially a 6th kind of alien, the one in white that poked its head out of the fire, escaped to the nanny, that poked all of them in the bellies and shit.
Right.
And
so
they were saying that was like a little ghost, right? Like that's what Anne.
Right. Yeah.
They thought it was like Casper.
Yeah. It was. What did she say about it? Like it had hands and legs, but it had no toes. It had pointed feet, and she like repeats that several times. It had pointed feet when they were trying to like ask her to describe it in detail. That was, for some reason, that was something that she seemed to fixate on. But so after the Gray like puts him under with that wand, I don't remember exactly what happened to him. Doesn't he just sort of wake up the next day?
Well, actually, there's a whole lot of things that happen.
Oh well, so I was going to get into like, didn't he get the impression that like they went and visited his son? Was that? At some point
screaming. Actually,
exactly.
He actually gets up. When he wakes up again, he gets up thinking that the roof is on fire.
Right.
He goes over to like get his son, and he tells Anne like the roof is on fire, but I don't think she like.
No,
really
she doesn't
moves at all.
She doesn't really register it. She's just like,
and then he comes into contact with his friend, and
same thing.
He notices he had noticed the light, but like no one the next day, no one said anything.
No, they didn't. They felt something was off, but none of them like they all just went about their business at that point. And later, after a while, I don't recall if it was Strieber himself that went to ask his friendos about what happened, or if they approached him. I wanted to say that
no, Strieber approached them. But maybe we should focus on the events of October the 4th first.
Okay, so they hear their child screaming, right? And what happened at that point? Like, didn't they basically abduct the child or like set him aside on a?
This is the time where they took him to the porch.
It's unclear whether they took him to the porch on that date or not. Because it's because of Whitley's various visitor experiences. It wasn't set like they didn't say like October 4th or December 26th. The little doctors, as his son identified them as, took them out of the porch. But at one point they did. But the kid's screaming and shit, and Whitley's trying to go like get it sorted, and he gets taken. During that event at some point. But yeah, as you mentioned, the next day, you know, even though like everyone in that household has these crazy experiences, there's like, you know, having a nice little pleasant breakfast and like, hey, let's go swim in the pond and hooray, you know.
Yeah, no one really like mentions anything that happened the night before. They kind of just go about their business. And again, he does go about he does ask them later about the situation, and then he does bring Jacques does bring about the fact that he did see a light, and that but he does mention Wheatley does talk briefly in the book about asking his son, and his son does describe the little doctors and how they took him to the porch. And again, it's not exactly clear on what date this occurred at. And I think the kid doesn't have like real fear about the situation. He's just kind of as a matter of fact about the whole thing.
And actually, sorry, Ray, but like the most compelling things about Whitley's story that like maybe this is the thing, is how rational he allegedly was about figuring out what was going on, because like he talked to his neighbor about like their floodlights, and they try to figure out like, could it be like cars from the road? No way for it.
He flat out blamed him and said,
no,
like,
he did, yeah, right. But the thing is, like, but after when they started investigating, there's like, oh wait.
No, yeah,
and also,
yeah,
like,
they did tests
about
it
at the time, and
he becomes
so they
very
will rule out all these things as to like how
he becomes
incredible light could be cast in their like fucking house at 2:00 in the morning or whatever it was,
Yeah.
But the entire approach that Whitley writes that he adopted during the time of these events was incredibly pragmatic. I mean, like, his first thoughts were, I'm fucking crazy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm cracking, like, and that's dope.
Yeah, throughout the book,
the validity, man. Like,
throughout the book, I did tell Roland
his like perception of everything, man.
Yeah, throughout the book, I did mention to Roland that it makes the book kind of have more, again, like you said, Daniel, the validity, that he is constantly questioning whether or not this is actually real, and whether or not it's in his own head that any of these things are actually happening. He never says outright and at any point that this is fact and this is what happened, or calls even these beings aliens, or calls them
He refers to them as visitors, but he does have these neat discussions. I'm glad you kind of broached on this, Ray, where he talks about his perception.
Yeah,
becomes like very like targeted at one point in the book, and it's very clear that it's like, this is my perception of these events. And that makes me think about other stuff I've been reading in Alien Land that I don't want to go into right now because I'm kind of hammered and it would take us really off course. Because David Icke and also William Branley comes to mind.
Yeah.
But
those are whole other.
So I forgot to mention
universes.
Like during this event on October, what actually woke him up was like the sound of a loud bang. Like he describes it as thunder without the lightning, but
his wife also mentions describes it as the night of the bang.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And it was
a
thunder
very foggy
without
night.
the lightning.
Right. He described it as in backwards, because usually you hear it and then you see the light, and instead they see a light and then they hear the noise. And Yeah, so like she barely apparently says that a bunch of people told her it was okay. You just threw your shoe at a fly. And then he's like, "What people?"
Oh no,
and she's
that was
like,
his
"Just a
son.
bunch of people who were around."
No,
Oh,
his
excuse me,
son.
the son.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When he
Because the
questions
wife,
him,
she was like, trying to like, they were telling her like, it's okay. You're not supposed to know. Like,
right?
Right.
Yeah, that's explained later when she goes under.
Yeah, she keeps saying that Wheatley is supposed to go, but I'm not supposed to go.
Right. Yeah.
Like, or
And
he's supposed to go, and I'm not supposed to know. Like, I'm supposed to stay
and
here.
they ask
Yeah.
her like, "Why would you say that?" And she's like, "It's kind of like when you're told as a child by your parent to do something or not to do something, you just listen." And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" She's like, "Look, that's just what I got from that. That's what I did. I didn't
So to
understand
stay,
it. Like I was
but-
just
yeah.
exactly. I just was meant to be there and not to respond. Like it was for him. Like Whitley had to go.
Yeah.
So she didn't.
And
she
and,
didn't-
and
so she
under
didn't-
under her hypnosis, she says that Wheatley is not a down to earth guy,
no.
and that
No,
this is
that
all
he
happening
is a
because of his
down-to-earth
fucking
guy.
head.
They tell him that he is, and she's like,
Yeah.
she disagrees. She's
Yeah.
like, no, he's not. Like,
And
she's like, it's
and
because of his mind, but he
or
is
his
not
head. She says
crazy.
because of his head.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was kind of curious about what she meant by that necessarily. Like, is it because he's a little off like the wall in his mind, or he's very imaginative?
right. That's what
And
she
Well, no,
says.
because
I
she
think she
describes
says
him
because
as a
of
down to
his-
earth guy, but the visitors are interested in him because of his mind.
Right.
So there's something apparently special about Whitley that is not identified in the books.
Or in this book particularly.
Or in this book, yeah.
Yeah.
But sorry, I was mentioning the little bit of transformation that I've read, which I didn't
okay.
like.
See. I was trying to find where they described the ship, and they don't actually call it a ship. He just says that
They're on a train,
it was
man.
a
Yeah.
clear crystal standing on the
Oh,
end of
and
a
that
house.
is, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about
Glowing
the
with an
situation.
unearthly light.
One of the incidents that he regresses back to is when he's on the train with
When
his
he's
father
a child,
and his
yeah,
sister,
he's 12.
and he sees at some point during this trip.
He sees the female.
Yeah, and
female
he sees
visitor.
the father who's kind of scared. His sister who's kind of
They're like
I think she was
paralyzed
gonna-
plays.
yeah.
So after his this comes like he doesn't mention.
I think he was
this.
9 years old when this happened.
He was
Somewhere around
12.
there. 12. Sorry, yeah.
He doesn't sort of start remembering these things until after
Some of
the
his initial
December- the
therapies, yeah.
right. But after he has the December encounter, apparently, or like what it seemed is like they either implanted some fabricated memories into him, or some things that that were either intentionally repressed, or he may have repressed himself, where he's talking about how his father passes away, or like the details, like
Oh,
detailing
that
his
scene.
father's
Yeah.
death, and it was a completely different like occurrence from what he remembered or what he was told by his mother and what happened. And so after this is when it starts sort of looking at, okay, like what other kinds of memories does he have, or is he like are coming back that involved his childhood. That's when he starts questioning his own I guess his own sanity at that point.
I think this
he
is
gets
when
very confused.
he talks about like screen memories.
Right.
And
Yes.
when he brings those up,
that's how he described them afterwards. Like
he talks about a situation in when he's told people in the past that he was present when the Charles Whitman shootings were going on, but that wasn't the case. And the reason that's why he left Austin apparently. And there was
he was
another.
never there, though.
He was never there, and
but he would tell people
that he was gone for weeks on like a quote unquote holiday because he like relocated to London and then like bugged out for like a month.
So So as you guys remember, after his December encounter, like I guess that would probably be the first sort of screen memory that they mentioned in the book, and that's when he remembers. Was it seeing an owl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He distinctly recalls
He thought he saw something fly past the window, and then he thought he saw an owl. Yeah,
exactly. And
but it's cool that he kind of admits this, but that also kind of like brings the reader or any audience who's going through this book, gives a little bit of doubt, but can also give a little validity to what he's saying, because he can admit the fact that he's fabricated these memories.
That's very possible. That but he doesn't know if it's an artificial fabrication,
right,
or one that he himself imagined and or creates. But he does mention, when he starts to sort of look into it, like into other occurrences of the phenomenon, that those sorts of things are also reported in others, and in the accounts of other abductees or people that have been visited. They recall, if I'm not mistaken, that originally their memories were something that was completely unrelated to what actually happened. Like they'll remember, like a, I don't know, like a dog barking instead. It's like there's some like how you said, those screen memories. Like they remember something that they question because it just seems sort of out of place and off in some way. And then that's when these things start to kind of like fall apart, and then the actual experiences start to start to come back to them.
All right.
But so that was, so we've gone through like the first two encounters, which in a way which in a way they're backwards, because he starts off talking about the December experience, and then
jumps to October, which happened a few months earlier.
And after that, he starts jumping back to his childhood. Right.
Yeah, but those are like when he's going under hypnosis, and that's when he starts remembering all those other things.
How long does he go after the December experience? He goes like 2 years or so before he goes and decides to actually try to understand what he experienced. Wasn't it?
Well, I know he I don't recall the years, but he does come into contact with Bud Klein,
right?
Who is
I thought he
kind of puts. I'm sorry, not Bud Klein. Is it Bud Klein?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And then he's
Bud
later.
Hopkins.
No,
Bud Hopkins. Sorry.
And he's later introduced to Don Klein.
Donald Klein, yeah. Bud Hopkins is the guy who kind of he's a UFOologist as well. His book that is claimed to fame is Missing Time, and he kind of puts him in contact with Donald Klein, where the psychiatrist, and which allows him to go under hypnosis, where he recalls all these memories and stuff like that. One of the other memories that I did want to touch on that he brought up, that kind of gave some more validity to what he was talking about, when he recalled that him and a friend of his saw like something in the sky.
Oh, word.
When they were like kids, and he called them, and they didn't ask. He just asked them if he saw anything weird, and then his friend mentioned that they saw something in the sky, and that kind of gives Wheatley kind of an idea of like these beings were kind of like these beings were kind of a part of his life, even younger than he recalled.
Right.
And there was other situation where he told a friend of his that some spacemen showed him how to build a anti-gravity machine.
Yes. So So that I had a little trouble taking that seriously. To me, that was just because he says himself, like as a child, he was always getting himself into trouble.
Right.
Okay. So these spacemen give him like the idea to create an anti-gravity device, which somehow he makes his own electromagnets and plugs them into the house and pretty much shorts out the fucking wiring from all, and everything. I think he says like the light bulbs in the house burst and
caught fire or whatever.
Right. So the few days
a portion
later,
of the house. Yeah.
so like he doesn't fess up.
The bulbs, like they like.
Oh yeah, the bulbs burst
and shit.
Yeah,
the bulbs burst. He runs downstairs and he's like, "What happened?" You know, and they're like, like he totally plays it off like a kid. You know, like, "Oh, I don't what how did this happen?" You know, and then it even says there he had a very strong urge to leave the house like the next day or a couple of days. So he goes to his grandma's, and then he finds out that the house gets on fire, specifically in his room where he plugged that shit in, and he's like, so this I thought that was funny and stupid, like kid shit, until he says, he flat out debunks it himself. He's like, I don't know that was due to me or to the aliens like trying to cover up what I did, so much as the old wiring in the house going to hell because I'm an idiot and I'm fucking around with the outlets, kinds of things. So he's really good about sort of
backtracking.
Backtracking, but covering all of his.
But when it comes to that anti-grav device, there was that other guy,
right? The one who created one in the barn that burned down
20
mysteriously.
Years later. Yeah,
correct. And it was a very, if not identical, very similar method that he did. Only that guy reported that wasn't he injured or something like that when like a car engine or something or whatnot was pulled. All the metal was pulled to the center of the room where he constructed that device, and think he gets injured.
Yeah.
He gets injured by like an engine or something.
Engine or something.
Yeah,
he says a fucking. It says a car engine.
Yeah, exactly.
Hits him in the
head. Like, okay,
that would kill somebody, right? That would fucking kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
What was interesting about that guy was that apparently, because Whitley built his device in 1958.
Daniel, get closer to the mic.
I'm sorry. I was super close too. That's weird.
I mean, I can hear you all right, but
no, I can hear you, but I can hear a little bit of the room, and I'm just kind of like,
no, you shut up. Because I'm like almost kissing the mic now, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But so the other guy who built a anti-grav device similar to Whitley, Whitley did his device in 1958. This guy built his in 1985, but they both allegedly received instruction around the same time because the visitors that talked to this other guy were like, "Oh, you're going to remember this shit in 20 years." And apparently he, apart from getting hit in the head with a motor, which should have killed him,
right?
The barn burned down
mysteriously the next day. Yeah.
So spooky.
So yeah, like it's just like another another thread that sort of like supports his his experiences going back from his childhood. It started out as very fucking suspicious and stupid, and then it just sort of it catches itself, or he catches himself in what happens, and then backs it up with that other guy's designs or whatever after the fact. And so it's pretty damn compelling at that point, talking about fucking ridiculous goddamn technology that apparently children are able to understand and build on their own, or at the very least, get the ball rolling for this kind of thing.
Roland, Bob Lazar is over here building rockets and shit on his bike and shit like that.
That was a grown ass man, motherfucker. All right, and good for him, fucking living the dream. If any of one of us wouldn't want to do something like that, shit, that's. I'd do it just to piss off the neighbors.
And we're just really upset the fact that Bob Lazar and his wife have a pretty sick house.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We don't.
It is nice. No. Yeah. Okay, so
go ahead.
What was interesting to me about when Anne was put under the hypnotic regression, or excuse me, not the regression, but when she was went to get hypnotized. She, I don't recall if she said this or if she sort of was rationalizing it to herself, in that the reason, because there's apparently a mental block that was put on her, just sort of the same as everyone else's, but hers was much stronger, and it was impossible for her to overcome it and actually remember much past a certain point. And she rationalized it as because it was to protect Whitley. Her not being exposed or not having these memories come to light was put there because she is the one that keeps him sane and stable.
Yeah, she's like the rock, the supporter.
Right, exactly.
Right.
She's the reason that he, is able to just, to keep himself together after the fact. Even though, like, unbeknownst to her, when he first experiences these encounters, like, he's going fucking insane. But so to me that was interesting, that, like, and so in a way, because of, I guess, that block that was put in on her, which we can only assume was put in there by the aliens, by the visitors, the thing about that particular instance, or that particular method that they used on her, is that she agrees with it. She doesn't want to fight it. She's like, no, like, this is in here for a good reason, and, like, we're not, like, I'm not going to try, like, to do anything about it. So that I thought was very interesting. Not so much that, like, she was in denial of anything, but in that she was sort of like, okay, this is for the greater good of my my family. And so she, I guess, subconsciously reinforced the burial, like, that those memories fucking stayed repressed, and all she remembers is, I guess, well, because she's never abducted, as far as we know. She's just there, and, like,
No, I mean, there's never a point in time where she claims or it's suggested that she was abducted.
Right.
She kind of, it's weird to say, but, like, it seems like she knows her place in this whole scenario.
That's
right.
And she doesn't, like,
which comes clear later, but there's definitely a role she fills, and she, like, knows her place, so to speak. Yeah.
She's a lot more accepting of what happens,
right.
But for, like, a different reason, not in that, like, she's more rational. It's just that it's framed in a way that she is the protector of the family, of their continued like, health, that sort of thing. And I just thought that was really interesting, that she's in a way she's complicit with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only time she seems more concerned, obviously, is when her son is involved.
Correct.
And when she says she can, like, she hears him screaming or something,
right?
And she wants to go,
cool, guys.
She wants to go over, but she can't.
Right, because
and
she's like, that's not her place, and that's what frustrates her. She's like, I know my son is, like, distraught,
screaming in terror.
I'm not supposed to be there. Like, I can't be there, and, like,
but
that's what annoys her.
She says she hears, like, a woman comforting him.
Correct.
But at that point in time, I don't remember the detail if whether or not the friends were there. Oh yeah, she thought, like, Annie.
She thought it was Annie.
Annie, like, comforting him.
Yeah. Even though Whitley had already, like, gone, and she was aware of him going to visit the son and to, like, see what was going on.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't recall, like, Annie. They never left the room during that whole situation. She didn't. So, like, we can only, during her little description of what she hears, is that possibly it was one of the beings comforting the son, and that's when the son, like, mentions the doctors and stuff like that are talking to him and stuff like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At the end of her examination, she says Whitley is supposed to go. They came for Whitley.
All right.
And they're like, "What do you mean? Like, just that's what I said. Don't you worry." She's like, "No, you're always there in the morning." And she's talking about Whitley. So to her, like, she she is alarmed, but at the same time, she knows that, or I guess instinctively understands that they're going to be fine. Like the more it's going to be, the sun's still going to come up, and they're all going to be there, and they're going to be like, continue living, that sort of thing. So she apparently, or supposedly, seemingly, is put under a very strong form of, I guess, just not hypnotic suggestion, but just fucking mind control. Fuck.
I guess in her case, that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
For that scenario,
like they pacify the fuck out of her throughout all of this.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm looking forward to is the series of books that his son writes eventually, if that little shit gets off his ass.
Really? I didn't even think about that, actually. So,
because I mean, his son had experience with like the little doctors and shit, and
right, yeah,
and maybe they persisted through his life. We don't know, and that'd be a cool series to read too.
Does like Ray, as far as you know, like, does their son have anything?
I have like no clue. I have not read anything that on whether or not his son has decided to write about.
His son's like our age at this point, like
yeah. So I mean, again, I haven't heard anything, and I would assume that if he was writing books on the subject, that he'd probably do the convention route with his father, probably confirming some of the activities that had happened when he was a kid.
They've got fucking little like video clips of him like, the good doctors took me, and he's like in his 30s with a beard and shit. It's like,
so I don't think we've talked about how, or at least this would probably be a good next sort of talking point is how Strieber rationalizes what he was seeing. At first, he thought he was hallucinating things, and then he starts to realize, after he goes in for his examinations, that these are repressed memories, and then he starts to go into like body of research concerning, abductions, and he starts sort of reaching out to some people that are
well. In that case, would it be good to go into the regressive hypnosis? A little bit of a description to kind of like move into that.
Yeah. You're right. You guys, one of you guys is going to go ahead and lead on that one.
I'll just read little descriptions here that I got. This stuff, this was a little excerpt that I got from a Psychology Today article from John Ryder, PhD, June 22nd, 2014.
John Ryder?
And basically, it's a description of what regressive hypnosis is in his terms. It says, hypnotic regression is the process by which you enter a trance and recall material from deep inside that is normally not available to the conscious mind. Hypnosis enables the mind to travel more easily across the dimension of time. And regression is the process by which the hypnotist guides you back through the time to particular events that need to be examined. And the idea that the mind is made up of different levels of awareness and activity has been substantiated by empirical evidence and the observation of countless experts in psychology. And again, we talked about this kind of briefly in the very beginning, that this was the method that was used by Dr. Pazder in the book Michelle Remembers.
Right.
And which we didn't go into when we talked about it. We kind of just said that she was doing that. So this will give context to that particular episode.
So like in sort of like I was gonna say like in popular media or just like mainstream culture, isn't this form of like, isn't this just the specific name of that particular form of hypnosis that most people like are familiar with? Like you.
Oh, more than likely, yeah.
You sit there and like they take you back to a particular date. Like,
right.
That's and you the patient does their best to recount their surroundings at the time.
Well, regarding this form of hypnosis, this is Whitley Strieber's quote unquote doubts, or like before he actually got into the whole hypnosis thing.
Word.
This is his thoughts on it. It says that it is a flat out lie that people can't lie under hypnosis. So they can and they will if that's what they think the hypnotist wants them to do, or if they themselves want to do it. It says the hypnosis used on me was not qualitatively different from that used on police witnesses, and the same caveats that apply to the police cases apply to this case, those and no other. I am describing what I perceived, which may or may not have been what was actually there.
Right, so that's just him going in again and saying, look, this is what I think I remember, but like it could be bullshit.
Yeah.
So
here's the Maryville.
He's very matter of fact of the possibility that it's all like he's always leaving it out there that it's possible that this is all bunk, like because
I guess that's kind of like
there's really no way to demonstrably fucking prove any of it.
That's like his preemptive strike on this with this book is that he's putting this out there, but he's kind of like putting doubt in everyone's mind first because before anyone can kind of say like this is all, like you said, this is all bullshit.
Right, exactly. Like he's agreeing
he's
with
just
them,
he's just saying like you might be right.
No,
this might be bullshit.
Like he's writing this from the perspective of I was going to say a reluctant skeptic, but it's a bit more of like the reverse. He's a skeptic that wants to understand what the fuck happened, and so he's trying to rationalize this, but at the same time, like, take it with a grain of salt, sort of thing, because he understands. And I think I was talking to you about this before, Ray, the other night. Like, he's trying to describe something that's beyond fucking human understanding. Like, there's no way that there's anything in here to say that like this is all just his fucking mind trying to compensate for trauma, and like this is the simplest like form of his mind interpreting interpreting something that is just fucking ridiculous.
What's interesting though is that the visitors never took him when he had something important going on, like eggs on the stove or something, or a pizza in the oven. There were never any bad repercussions, and so I think I left the oven on. Reality. Yeah, like
you son of a bitch.
Oh, and my son, the pizza.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so I think that's kind of bullshit to this whole
you
narrative.
Can't take me right now. The dryer's still running. You fucking assholes.
You go, if I leave them in there too long, they're gonna get wrinkled, and I gotta dry them all over again.
You motherfucker. Yeah. So, okay.
You work for CP&L? Fuck you.
Yeah. All right. That's like an extra $10 for my fucking electrical bill. So, okay. Where were we going to lead on here from talking about the regressive hypnosis? What did I say?
I think since again we've gone through the cases that he's talked about already, or the situations, the incidents, and we've gone
his
through
rationale for it.
Yeah, his rationale for
That's
it.
what I was trying to think of. So I was able to.
Do you want to go into like how like after that? So basically, I guess the tying it all together, would that be good?
Possibly.
I'm not sure I follow. What do you mean by like how?
Well, Daniel added this towards the end of the notes here. So we went through the backstory, went to the regressive hypnosis, and we kind of talked about briefly about how he attempts to rationalize his experiences, like hallucinations.
Right. Yeah.
But that's where the tying it all together is, and that is at the end of the book when he starts. He does go through like there's a chapter prior to like the last one where he
talks about.
He talks with a group of like abductees, and they're recounting their experiences.
With that scene, it was fucking funny because like they're talking about like what kind of like weird things can you do after your experiences, and this one chick's like, after I get abducted, or after I turn the TV off, I can put my hand on it, and then I take my hand away, and there's an impression of it on the screen. And then Whitley's like, well, anyone can do that. Like, he was like a total thing to that shit, dude. That's one of my bookmarks in the fucking, yeah.
He has he has no sense of humor about this. I think he even mentions when one of the articles that you put on here, Ray, that what does he say? That like he has no time for
that was like one of like the articles where it talks about like a bit of the aftermath of communion.
He has no time for comfort zones. So like people talking about simple silly shit like that, he's gonna immediately jump on that and be like, okay, you're being an idiot. Like we're here to like fucking talk about like something that's traumatic. Like
traumatic, and he's trying to find deeper meaning in all this.
He has no sense of humor about this, and like that's understandable in his case.
And that kind of comes across of when he's in interviews and stuff like that, because he's like straight faced the whole fucking time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So he tries to rationalize that. I think that I could see in was it? I thought it was like 3 different ways. The first being the obvious. Okay, this actually happened. Oh, you know what? Maybe 4 possible ways. The fourth being.
Wow, Roland, where are you going with this, bud?
So like, no, okay. So he talks about like he's fucking reading history. Like he starts reviewing mythology. Like you wrote there, Daniel. Like the Fae and incubi, succubi, ancient religious figures, those sorts of things. At one point, he fixates on Ishtar, saying that if you took the hair off of her and like colored the eyes black, and removed the clothes, like you would, she'd be identical to the female figure that he met. He talks about how the fairies, they have wands, they had magical wands, those sorts of things. Like he's trying. It seems at first that he's really reaching, but like because they're very simplistic explanations. He talks, like I said, the fairy with the wand is one of those little grays that had the wand that touches you right to the middle of your head. He talks about how the chakras in your body, one of them is located right between your eyes in the place that they tap, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so he's just trying to like very loosely connect some body of knowledge, anything that he can find in human history to understand these things or these events. Because one of the things that he sort of thinks about is that like why hasn't this happened before, or why isn't there more of this? Why is it only like in this particular period where people are reporting these
right, basically from like 47 on after Roswell.
And
right,
when we look at like ancient history and like this, the folklore and legends, and like they are all full of stories of just like the supernatural and the the
right,
ridiculous.
and like he made like I wish he would have investigated a little further with like some of like the examples from the lore, but like with fairies having the silver boxes that that apparently the visitor used to make the explosion behind his eyes happen.
Right. Yeah.
The crunching of the apple, as that other chick reported.
That's right. Yeah.
So there are many books prior to this book coming out that he could have, I want to say like investigated on, and that's, again.
Well, he said he read thousands of pages of something. Like he doesn't. I don't think.
Yeah. Was he talking about like Chariots of the Gods? Was he talking about like Zachariah Stitchen? All these guys were like talking about like things in history that
like where his references
that make a callback to like ancient alien kind of situation.
Right.
So back to how like he was trying to rationalize it. He started there with ancient history or ancient mythology. He also goes into or tries to understand the science of it. I was telling you the other night, Ray, like at one point he talks about how the body has puts out electrical pulses or whatever,
frequencies.
Low magnetic frequencies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He goes in saying
the
that, like,
1 to 30 hertz or whatever that we all
correct.
put out, and it also aligns with the planet. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. That, like, that's what isn't there to say that, like, certain areas of the planet that have high electromagnetic frequencies will not affect people. And I was telling Ray, like, the military did those kinds of experiments at one point where they were messing with different frequencies of decibels, if I'm not mistaken, to see, like, okay, because they were trying to make weapons, and so they were trying to find a particular frequency that they could use to fuck with your body, and they apparently are.
So was this Project Bell or Project Horn, or what do they call it? Project Stravinsky, I don't know, man.
Project
so
yeah.
So there's some sort of, like, I guess there's some information out there that suggests it's possible. He doesn't mention that. This is, like, what I'm remembering, like, that I've come across. He does mention, though, that, yeah, like, okay, the body runs on a particular range of hertz. What isn't there to say that can't be manipulated with some kind of instrumentation, and that these guys wouldn't be capable of that? Like, it just again, like, he's suggesting that there's a way that, to scientifically demonstrate that this is possible, or this is something that can be used to influence them. And I wanted to call bullshit at first, because he, like, very casually mentions these things, and doesn't really go into, like, heavy detail. And at one point he starts talking about how, like, he says our understanding of these things, like, he sort of, like, includes himself in as a scientific like, researcher with these people, like, oh yeah, I found these particular theories, and now, like, I'm one of them as well. And it kind of annoyed me that because, like, I just thought it was only slightly presumptuous. But going back to the fact that he's just looking for, the most straightforward way to show that these things are possible, and it's effective. Like, it's sort of, like, just very simple logic that that shows or suggests these things. So, and I think after that or before, around the time is when he starts talking about how the spacemen showed him how to make anti-gravity, and he came across another person that, like you mentioned, burned their barn down or whatever. And so there's, like, it's in the same way that like, the same impression that I got, like, when he starts talking about mythology, same thing, just like, okay, or the same thing as well, sorry, when he's talking about how he built this equipment. It seems very fucking lackadaisical at first, like, just very just fucking silly, and then, like, it starts to kind of it starts to sort of support itself and make sense, which like, I thought it was interesting now. And so the third I guess way he goes about trying to understand this was, like, he tries to accept that these things happen, that, okay, like, there are existences out there that we can't understand. They may have been here forever, or before us. Well, no, yeah, like, that's pretty much what that one is. The fourth that I was thinking about was just that how he just suggests that it's all bullshit, or not necessarily all bullshit, but, like, he disproves it all itself. It's like, it's not none of these things. It's not aliens. It's not like ancient beings that were here. It's not science. Like, it's something completely incomprehensible.
Well, yeah, I mean, because like Whitley went through all like the rigorous human derived like tests, like getting like nasal probes and shit, and checking if he had like a form of epilepsy and other like conditions to explain away.
I forgot what they said here. I was looking at it earlier. Like, there was a psychologist that said he had a particular kind of mental, not, I guess, disorder that describes what he was experiencing. Hypnagogia.
Yeah,
A common neurological phenomenon that's been mistaken by intervention by demons or aliens. It's when he talks about waking up supposedly paralyzed, and it fits that particular description.
Like pretty much like anything said, known to try to explain what's going on. Human
markers to all of this.
Since Whitley doesn't necessarily name or pinpoint where these non-human beings come from, he gives like a list, various types of possibilities. And I would like to read some of these to
go for it, dude. I bookmarked that area and I wanted to bring it up, so I'm glad you are. So get after it, man.
Okay, so it says let me just read the little bit here. It says there is so little final knowledge of this phenomenon that it is impossible to do more than speculate about its actual nature. But speculation need not be random. It can be careful and directed. It says the visitors could be, and then this is where it goes down the list. It says from another planet or planets, from Earth, but so different from us that we have not hitherto understand that they are even real, and from another aspect of space-time, in effect, another dimension. It says from this dimension in space, but not in time. And then it goes a little bit further than that. And it says the next one is from within us. And I keep returning to this hypothesis because I find it so endlessly interesting and at its core so compelling. I suppose the idea that the gods we create would turn out to be real because we created them has a certain ironic appeal to the modern intellectual. And then the next one is a side effect of a natural phenomenon. It says we know so little about how magnetism and extra low frequencies of all kinds affect the human organism. Perhaps there are natural electromagnetic anomalies that trip a certain hallucinatory wire in the mind. And the next one is an aspect of the human species. We have very ancient tradition of afterlife. We have a very ancient tradition of afterlife. The respect with Neanderthals buried their dead in the Middle East more than 30,000 years ago suggests that this belief may actually predate our own species. Yeah. So that's the list that he goes down to the possibilities of where these beings.
Well, yeah, I totally just forgot about the Neanderthal thing.
Yeah.
Like that was just fuck you, Whitley.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Some of it is pretty goddamn hard to fucking...
some of it's like, I know you just listing out possibilities or whatever, but like, really, dude, you're gonna like jump back 40,000 years and talk about fucking motherfuckers you don't even know.
See, that's where it kind of bugs me a bit, where it starts to seem a little too hard to like...
Yeah, because then he's like trying to insert the visitors in like
he seems almost flippant about
aspects
these things,
of like, of course the visitors always been here. They've always been interacting with us. Fuck you, man. Maybe not.
Exactly.
And maybe that one like hit an ass you took in undergrad at UC Austin, maybe that's coming back up now, man.
So part of me wants to take this seriously, and another part of me is like, okay, it sounds like he likes. And I like saying this phrase because I was telling Ray earlier. It's like he's starting to like the smell of his own farts. He's fucking like just writing because it sounds good, it's compelling, and like he's gonna.
I'll say this though, man. With when I reread Communion this morning, I was like, "Oh, this is so innocent. This is such like little like pussy little play lamb bullshit because I've been reading David Icke and shit, and he's just like, the agenda, the reptilians, the conspiracies all around us, and you're fucking idiots, and it's all around us. And then I read Strieber like, they want to be our friends. I'm like, man, that's bullshit.
Well, I mean, I think he kind of has a sense that, or the hope that they might want to be friendly or benign, but there is a sense where he doesn't really know the agenda that they have, and I think that's where like some of the other theories come into play.
Yeah,
where the other theories come into play, like David Icke and William Bramley and fucking Zachariah Stitchin and all those other, like, fill in those gaps that Whitley Strieber is just kind of like in his own little world as far as like what he's trying to understand, but he's not like exploring those other avenues that those menacing beings that are like all around us trying to like control things.
It all seems very superficial.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's not going in depth to anything. He's like just trying to take the shotgun approach. All right, it's this and this and this and this and this and this and this.
Well, I mean, that I think that he kind of like again takes that precautionary thing of saying that he can't go any further because he can't say things for sure. So he's just kind of like throwing all these possibilities out there.
Just trying to see what
to kind of say like, yeah, exactly, what does stick. And then I think at some point that's when he starts doing transformation. He starts going through those other books where he's starting to like not just lay those things out there and kind of seeing what sticks, but kind of like taking those exploring. Well, he's kind of like making them more concrete on as he goes further down the line. Because I mean, the fucking last book is called Confirmation.
Right. So at that point,
so like he's already saying like this is what. Yeah, he's made up his mind, and this is what is his truth or the truth, however you want to put it.
Right. He just puts this out to like give you a little taste of what is going on in the mind of the Strieber.
Yeah, and again, this is fucking years. This is years of
philosophical place.
Extra-terrestrial being kind of communication. Again, this is not the first and last time that he's quote unquote communicated with these beings. Like this thing continues on, and goes for even further throughout the other books. Like he's in constant contact with these beings even up to this day, apparently. So
which we'll probably have to get into later on.
Yeah. At some point, we'll Books of the Strange has an endless library of things to go through.
Yep.
And we'll get to those eventually. We'll get to all those things eventually.
Series.
the Strieberverse.
The Strieberverse, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to get into like little things about the book here. Again, little details that we may have missed. One of the ones was that Anne did get hypnotized by a different hypnotist. His name was Robert Naiman.
Right. Because they were concerned that Klein was going to possibly lead her with some of the same
because he had so much knowledge of like from what Strieber had said that he might direct her in a certain way.
Right.
And the actual quote from the book is that they chose him so that there could be no possibility of his questions taking on some sort of unnoticed direction.
Right.
Even like whether even unintentionally. Right. Yeah.
Right. And one of the little things that I found when I was reading, it comes off on page 161 from the version that I and Daniel have. This is a little description that he said, and it sounded too much like a comic book character. Mm-hmm. And it said,
it really fucking did, man.
Yeah, it said, I still do not remember seeing the fireball. All my life, I've had a free-floating memory of a skeleton riding a motorcycle, frightful effigy. Now I know the source of that image. It sounds like fucking Ghost Rider, man. That's exactly what it sounded like. I was like, what the fuck? And
Cage would like to have a word.
My eyes.
Right, exactly.
Abduction. Wee.
And I was talking when me and Roland were talking last night about like even the title Communion sounds very pretentious. about his experience. I was telling Roland that it wasn't Wheatley that came up with the title of communion, and I did hear him talk about this in an interview. It was the
visitors.
No, it was his wife. It was his wife.
No, dude, no. It came out of communion because like she was asleep or whatever, and then in her voice, but it was more like a bass profundo as he described it.
Well, let me read the.
This should be about communion because we love you. Yeah.
Okay. Let me read the paragraph here. It says, one night in April, she talked in her sleep, and I had thought to call the book Body Terror. All right. Because of the extreme physical sensation of fear.
Coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the extreme physical sensation of fear I felt on December 26th. And suddenly she said in a strange, again, like you said, Daniel, basso profundo voice, the book must not frighten people. You should call it communion. Because that's what it's about.
Because that's what it's about.
I want to find that. Was that the last chapter?
No, it's let me see.
It was before Triad, I believe.
Yeah, it was before the ending. Let me see here, Roland. Give me a second.
I can fucking.
I'm trying to find. I believe it's chapter 5, and it's probably more towards the ending and the beginning of chapter 6.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just before the little thing that says "our son," and that's when they talk about what his son had to say about it, and how they weren't going to hypnotize him until he was old enough to consent.
Right.
To being hypnotized to describe what he may or may not have seen. Yeah, it's just a few pages before chapter 6 begins. So that makes sense.
And as I mentioned, Whitley Strieber's kid, whoever the fuck you are, get to writing, dude.
Yeah, we
want to hear about the little doctors, man.
That would, I mean, yeah, it is.
It's that paragraph is
happening, you know.
That paragraph is just above where it says "our son," Roland. If you want to check that out.
Yeah, yep. I found it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Felt suddenly strange basso profundo voice. Yeah. That's so funny,
See, I remembered. I didn't read this.
Yeah, you got it. The book must not frighten people. Wife?
Does anyone want to?
Yes,
Roland, do you want to give your best basso profundo voice?
I don't even know what the fuck that means.
I assume it just means very deep, very grand, grandiose
Profound
type of
bass.
voice.
Aliens
How does
coming, Whitley.
How does that feel, baby?
Is it harder? Is that as hard as it can get?
Right. The book must not frighten people. You should call it communion, because that's what it's about. That sounds so much like his wife, though. Like she never ever explains anything. It's always like because, duh.
And in one of the interviews that I did hear, he basically just regurgitated this exact scene. He said he wanted to call it Body Terror. His wife suggested communion, but he didn't say that she was asleep when it happened. He just said that this is what she said.
Oh,
yeah. And then he looks over at her and says, like, he was gonna say, like, bitch please, and then he realizes that she's asleep.
Yeah.
And then he
what's funny? It's funny is that, like,
where he heard the voice before.
From the Ishtar bitch.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are there any other situation? Is there any other last minute conclusions about communion that we need to talk about before we kind of give our ratings or ratings, or like do we recommend someone reading this book? I mean, just in their own personal perspective of this book.
Nothing really. Just like I'd mentioned to you before, that I think this would have been better, instead of naming it Communion, a True Story, it would have been better as Communion, a Memoir, because that's what you feel like like what you're reading. You're reading like his fucking like
and
daily
and,
thought.
and on that note, man, I do think it's really more of a memoir. And his last like 3 chapters was like the triad, and then trying to talk about all the like the religious kind of stuff like Ishtar and Noah and shit. I think all that shit could have been cut out and just be like, hey, these are my experiences.
Yeah.
Here are my hypnotic sessions. Here's my wife's shit.
Right.
And take what you will with it.
So Ray and I were talking about this the other night. This book could have been a lot shorter because
absolutely, it's so
he takes a long
man.
time. He takes a long time to get to the point. He repeats himself so much, and like he does it in a way that almost seems like he's trying to make it seem
like he's trying to work his feelings out, even though it's already edited, so his feelings are already established. He's
like, I was scared, and then he talks about like I was completely and utterly mortified. I'm like, dude, you just said that like last chapter. Why do you keep like why? Like
because my editor wanted 30,000 words and I only had 20.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's trying to fucking like he's trying to.
The publishing house was cracking our balls, man.
He writes this thing like at first, like I want to say like it's all there's like his own journal, but then he writes his own fucking like journal, like he's directing a play or some shit. It's very fucking like
it gets old fast, man.
It's very fucking like sort of almost full of himself kind of thing. Like what we didn't understand before is that like as it was explained that they had a right to explain or to examine me insofar as like we have a right to control.
And that like sanctimonious bullshit attitude is totally carried over into the second book, which I started reading a few months ago.
So tiresome, dude.
And it's so bad in the second book.
I told Ray like reading this, like I fell asleep twice because I was just like,
because it was anytime you've had like 20 minutes of inactivity is nap time for you, man.
Like my fucking brain shuts off. It was like, he's jerking himself off again. Like, all right, it's time for a nap. Oh crap, what happened? Shit. So like, and I like how you mentioned before, dude. I totally agree. Like, I would have liked this better if he had just reported his facts, how he felt, and the information, like the dates. And instead of like just fucking busting out all this fucking slapping us across the face with this exposition or whatever, like, oh, wherefore art thou, alien? Like kind of dumb shit.
Yeah, let me pontificate.
He never said alien.
Lore.
Yeah.
They're visitors.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Wherefore art thou? Jesus, is that your penis? Where are
I think Roland and I talked about this, that particular part of the book, like we had to reread because I think Roland, you said the same thing. Was I reading that about?
Yeah, exactly. It was just like, wait a minute, what? Like, why? Really? You're
talking about his penis, and can it be harder? Like,
and then it gets weird because then like they ask him, how old are you? And he's like, in the same event, like that he's remembering, he's like, I'm 12. I'm like, you just talked about getting like butt rammed and like you're a child. Wait a minute, like it is exactly with a half chub. I'm just like,
Actually, no. When he was 12, it was just the scene on the bus where the train.
Right.
But he wasn't like probed till like later in life.
I know, but I think I think he kind of alludes to the fact that he's like of younger age, but like he is older when he gets anal probed.
Yeah. Some of it is a little hard to follow.
But he only talked about that one experience on like the 26th when they like probed him.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no other point where he talked about like being assaulted by like the visitors.
Well, I think
like freaky like contact shit, like but like not up with shit inside of you. Oh, that was good, baby.
I hope they lube up this
and the money's on the dresser, you know.
Yeah. So like he's sort of it's hard to follow in some areas because, like you said, he gets a bit with he repeats himself. He does some long-winded exposition at times where he's fucking like, jerking himself off that he knows all the big words, and then like you get to like actual accounts where he's talking or speaking, and he sounds nothing like how he writes. And also, it gets a little confusing because
alien
he doesn't
come. Hi, alien. Oh, alien, no, put that bum. Oh, alien, put that bum.
It's almost like fucking,
I think I like you.
It's almost fucking stream of consciousness bullshit. It's just like he's vomiting out all this crap from his brain, and there's not a lot of like. It's hard to follow the content.
But is that about like the visitor experience though? Like, is it so disorienting where even like the most articulate fucking individual in the universe would be like, ooh.
Well, okay, he never expressly says that, but I mean that's what happened to him, but he does like describe that, his sense of self was destroyed, and so that would suggest that
what I think
any rational
not in the
thinking.
sense of self, no, but like even after the other incidents when he's in like the hypnotic regression sessions, and he's describing what's going on, it's like this primal, Whitley see alien.
Yeah, he's describing it like as he experiences it, not in his.
I looked
his
at you
normal...
there, somniferous almond eyes, and I saw a wisdom there.
Right,
and they saw through me
into my very soul. There was infinite
and then they
depth.
stuck it in, and it was glorious, frightening but glorious. And I thought I was gay, and. No, none of that happened with Whitley. No, it was just like, hello, alien. Oh, bad stuff happened to me.
Ouch, my butt.
Don't touch wife. Oh, no. Kid touched. Bad. Stupid.
So,
well, speaking of, I guess his sense of articulation and sound mind.
It's a bit hard to
Roland, I'm kind of just throwing this out there on you. Do you want to read the statement from Dr. Klein, MD, on Appendix 1? It's very short.
Oh, word.
Have a look, see.
It's good.
Yeah, sure, I'll read it.
All right, go ahead.
It's pretty long.
I have sucked Whitley's dick. And...
Okay, so here we go. A statement from Donald F. Klein, MD. I have examined Whitley Strieber, whatever, and found Strieber, thank you, and found that he is not suffering from a psychosis. He's not hallucinating in a manner characteristic of psychosis. I also see no evidence of an anxiety state, mood disorder, or personality disorder. He is an excellent hypnotic subject who appeared to make an honest attempt while under hypnosis to describe what he remembered. He has approached the dilemma of what is happening to him in a careful and forthright way, and has pursued his investigation with diligence. After initial periods of stress, he became much more calm about his situation and soon learned to deal with it in a psychologically healthy way. He appears to me to have adapted very well to life at a high level of uncertainty. Donald F. Klein, Director of Research.
Director of Research, New York State Psychiatric Institute.
Now, I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to get into this whole thing, but in Appendix 2, Whitley Strieber does take a polygraph, right?
Right.
And we know like polygraphs aren't exactly 100% accurate.
Like, they're not. They
can just to read some of these quick questions about like what they asked him, and like he did.
It was totally unrelated, man. It was stupid.
Yeah. So the test result says, "Are you known as Whitley Strieber?" Yes, it's true. Do you intend to answer truthfully? Yes, it's true. Do you intentionally plan to be given a lie detector test on this Halloween day? And it says, hold on, let me see here. No, and it says that was evaluated true. It says, do you belong to any cults? No, this is true. Do you think that those things happened to you on October 4th, 1985 that were outlined in your letter dated October 17, 1986? I said yes, and that was true. It said, did you ever
evaluated as true?
Yeah, fraudulently is true. Or, I'm sorry, did you ever fraudulently conceal any information prior to 1984? He said no, that was true. Do you think those things happened to you on December 26, 1985, as outlined in your letter, dated October 17, 1986? He said yes, and that was true. Besides, when you were 8 years old, did you ever hallucinate again prior to 1984? And it says there was a note, I had hallucination during a fever when I was 8, and he said no, and that was true. Do you live in New York City? Yes, that was true. Do you think those things happened to you on March 15th? And it said yes, and that was true. Did you ever lie for personal gain prior to 1984? It says no, that was true.
No.
Do you think things happened to you in late March 1986?
It's like I was just like, yeah, I get it. You know.
I think the only time that was one of the questions was it says
that was interesting.
Yeah, hold on.
Have you ever lied to those people who interviewed you with respect to the 4 items we discussed?
And then it said no, and that was evaluated as possibly untrue, a correct response. It says, I've been in business for 20 years, and I'm not sure I haven't lied occasionally.
Yeah. Have you ever intentionally ingested any hallucinogenic drug? No. Lies.
and they threw that at the end of the book as well.
You're lying.
Yeah. Did you ever take any prescription medication without a doctor's permission? No. Bullshit. Also,
so those are like the appendixes of the book. Dr. Klein's statement of, I guess, the health for Whitley Strieber, and then of course the results of a polygraph test that he took. Again, very vaguely talking about incidents that happened, whether or not they were true, and then he said yes, and they were validated as true. Yeah. So at the end of this book, I guess they're just trying to
if he's like a
reaffirm that he is of sound mind. He's not hallucinating. He's not crazy.
Okay. So the Mulquist verdict, Roland, do you think he's nuts?
At first I wanted to call bullshit on him, but the thing is, he presents us in a way that supports skepticism, and so I have to agree with that, because I mean, like his fucking writing style, setting that aside, and how frustrating and irritating it can be, and listening to him fucking wax poetic on his garbage. The accounts are very interesting in that they are like hyper detailed. There's a lot of I guess variance in the visitors that he describes that I find interesting, because it's not what I expected. I was just thinking that, you know, okay, it's looking at my version of this book here, it's going to be all about the alien that's on the front,
Grays or whatever. Yeah.
And it's not. Like he goes into heavy detail about various different types, and it's not just him. Like his wife later on, you know, also describes one, and his son is also involved as well. So and his friends, his associates, acquaintances. So
yeah, that like UFO, like
I think
survivor group or whatever.
Right. Well, I was thinking about like the guests he had there.
Oh, and
the Jacques.
Right, yeah.
So I think it's a very convincing argument. That in and of itself, it's not just him involved. Like he's got information that he can pull from other people that were involved. So I'd have to say, like, I would err on the side of believing this, even though it does kind of have its parallels to Michelle Remembers, that I, you know, like they use the same fucking hypnotic suggestion. And
that wasn't like intentional picking this book necessarily.
No. That was an absolute coincidence. Like it just so happened. Like it's a good way to show.
Well, I mean, if we were social justice warriors and like let's look at rape or whatever, we would be into like hypnotic regressive therapies as well, because one video that I watched that was really intriguing was some researcher out of like Harvard or some like super Ivy League college who initially was trying to study like the tales of rape survivors. And I don't know what led her to looking at like the UFO abductee experience or whatever, but she kind of just ran off with it, and I think her assumption is that it's bullshit, but the experiences are real to these people, no matter what happened.
Right. So you have to be. I mean, you have to assume that you have to be able to accept that on their behalf, that they fucking
something
find these
happened
things
to
to
these
be
people.
true.
Exactly. Something happens.
Whether you understand it or not.
And that's intriguing.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I think that it was a more effective technique in this particular account here, mostly because, well, like I said before, it's not just one fucking person like spinning this whole goddamn epic yarn.
Yeah, right.
It's one guy that starts off like pulling a thread, and then like the whole fucking thing just falls into place, with what seems to be not really a whole lot of effort on anyone's part. They almost seem to sense that there's something about these particular events, or in their own memories, that there's something in there that doesn't add up. And while it's similar to Michelle Remembers, like I would have to say like this is just infinitely way more believable because of that. Which it's again it's interesting. That,
well, I mean, you also have to take into account that with Michelle Remembers, again, like you said, it's not just one person spinning a yarn, and it's and we have to think of the aftermath of the writing this book. Whitley Strieber just continued on. I mean, Whitley Strieber pretty much decimated his entire reputation,
right? Yeah.
To continue doing this, and he continues to do it, and. I mean, there's really no money coming in for him necessarily.
This doesn't help him.
He gets like $30 from a random UFO conference.
Exactly. And this is not helping. This is not helping him. Yeah, and if we're looking at Michelle Remembers, I mean, we did have the Michelle, and then Dr. Pazder, who married each other after the fact, and then went on a tour.
He was trying to, they used it as
to get in advance.
Sensationalism. Like they went and they fucking like.
And on top of that,
they counseled other people that were involved in like satanic panic cases.
But they also, she described situations where like the authorities were involved, and there was no record of any sort of like police report having to do with any situation that she described.
Right.
Her experience as a way to, to promote himself. He's like, oh man, this is amazing. We need to report this. Like, no one's understood this before, and like. Strieber here was like the exact opposite. He didn't really want to talk about this so much as he just wanted to find some, not necessarily closure,
or rationale behind.
He just wanted to sort out what was happening to him. That was it.
Yeah. Wanted to just like prove himself to not be fucking crazy to himself, and.
I think that's inaccurate. I think he was willing to be like crazy because of his initial assumption, like I'm nuts, or I'm like cracking, But
I'm not so sure I agree with that, dude, because like he was suicidal from it. Like it was ruining his life. Like he couldn't accept.
So that doesn't indicate any sort of like problems with his mental health overall.
Well.
Well, I think if he could find some kind of rationale within the fact that he was crazy or he wasn't crazy. I mean, either as long as there was a definitive answer.
No, as long as he found an answer, I think that was important to him. But where the stream of evidence led him was to this visitor experience.
I don't think he would have been willing to accept like himself having either like a mental psychosis or some kind of like just hallucinatory influence, because like he seems to consider himself a rational being, like a very logical person. As he does.
Roland, you read the book, right?
Oh Christ! I mean, yes, dude, but like,
because his initial assumption was that he was cracking.
He was afraid of that.
Because he thought he was losing his mind.
Yeah. God damn it. My
You must have read the abridged version, Roland.
Yeah,
like, right, but like I don't. All right, fine, whatever. I can be wrong, I guess. If that's easier to fucking.
Well, because your premise is fucked up. Because in his book, he wrote like, "I thought I was crazy at first."
Yeah. But I meant like before that or whatever. Like the way he was
before what? Before what? When he first started thinking I'm crazy, and then he later goes, "Oh, maybe it's aliens."
I got the impression that he considered himself to be a fucking logical person because he was fucking
logical person, and then I may be going crazy, and then aliens.
And so like he doesn't want to accept that. Like he wants to be.
I see it more as like the fact that he is a logical person.
God you're so frustrated right now.
He is a logical person. He is a logical person, but he can accept the fact that he may be going crazy, and that is a logical response, saying like, "Oh, I may be going crazy." So he seems like he may be able to accept that, and I mean. It being like illogical, like if you're saying like he's not a logical person and he's saying that he's going crazy, that he can't accept that, but I see it more that he can accept the fact that he's going crazy, and that is an option.
Thank you,
so
Ray.
That seems,
Thank you. And Roland, you didn't protest once. Go fuck yourself.
Because at this point I have to listen to you fucking giving me garbage. Why bother?
Well, because it's accurate. It's not garbage. It was in the fucking book, which you read allegedly.
Yes.
The abridged version.
Shit. Give me the
I was watching a guy on Twitch playing Doom Eternal.
You know what?
I had the book open in front of me.
Would have changed my mind if I had watched the movie. I bet that would have changed my mind.
No. I don't know if I have the constitution to go through the movie at this point.
No, we'll save that for some other time, man.
Well, Ray, like, what do you think about this book, man? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think I started talking with Roland last night that I do believe Strieber's account on what he's saying. Granted, his writing does get a little fluffy, and there's a little bit more
obtrusive is the term you're looking for, I believe. Yeah,
probably.
Sure.
Yeah. And I did agree that the book should have been at least half the pages that he presented here, and excuse me, that I could see where he's coming from. I can see why he goes in these different directions as to why he's trying to rationalize all these things. And again, you said Roland
desperate to figure it out.
Well, but that's the thing, that there's a desperation in the book that he's trying to figure out why this is happening to him. Not necessarily like saying like, this is so cool, like I'm gonna take this at face value and I'm just gonna let it ride on like some books on UFOs will take that approach. Like, this is what happened, and fight me on the fact that like this didn't happen, and then like they get very defensive,
That would have been so
that would have been fine. But and again, we talked about Roland, we went through some of these articles here, that this book, that's why this book kind of turned the UFOlogy community on its head, because it wasn't the nuts and bolts and like just straightforward account that people were looking for.
Huh.
This was more of a sense of trying to find purpose within this whole situation that's happening, because he was experiencing fear, he was experiencing terror. He did involve his wife, his son, and all these kinds of situations where all these things that he couldn't understand, and then he regresses back to his childhood and sees that all these beings have been a part of him all his life, and that he kind of has to accept the fact that they are a part of his life, and then he has to go forward and kind of overcome the fear that he feels and just accept it and just go along with it. Again, accepting that fact that he may be crazy, this may not be real, and or it may be real, and he just has to kind of like go with the flow and see where it takes him. Because again, I had read this book a long time ago, and I vaguely remember it because I think I read like just sections of it. But I know I've been familiar with this book for a long time. My friend had introduced me to the book, and it said that when he read it, it scared him.
Wee boy of 13.
Well, no, I didn't read it when I was 13. I read it when I was.
You're always
somewhere.
13.
Yeah, always. I was 13 and like a junior in high school or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You know how it is. And again, I got introduced to this book by someone else, a friend of mine who did own the book himself, and he talked to me about it, and it was very interesting. And then I heard him on Coast to Coast, all these little interviews here and there, but I didn't get as deep into it as I did this time around. And again, I do believe Whitley Strieber. Again, his writing style is a little bit, again, said obtuse. It does get a little bit too much sometimes, like his theories on where he's going. Again, I told Roland, he is a writer. He has to fill the pages. He has to create like a dramatic narrative in order to sell the book, you know. And you do have to take that into account, you know.
Like he's embellishing or fucking.
Well, I mean, you have to take into account again. Most of the people that were writing books on alien abduction or anything UFO related, ancient aliens, were very technical about it. It's very mechanical. Everything is facts, and there's no embellishment. There's no dramatic effect. But this is coming from a person who was a well-known writer at the time. He's a horror writer in that fact. And his writing style, he's not going to just fucking throw out the small snippets of facts.
He's using this as a way to almost like express himself.
Yeah, he is. I mean, if you want to call,
well, he's trying to work out his feelings on this, man.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But that let me just say this: like, if anyone who has never read the book, I would suggest reading it. You know, it's very dramatic at points, but it does give a fairly seems believable account on someone who has experienced some kind of abduction by beings. He doesn't say aliens, but you can pretty much take that. That's exactly what it is.
Yep.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel, what about you? You bitch.
I have some thoughts.
Please.
I do not doubt that Whitley Strieber experienced some extraordinary events, nor do I doubt that like Betty Andreessen and that couple in the 50s that were driving got abducted.
Betty and Barney Hill?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Hills, yeah. I don't doubt these happened, but what I think these are ultimately are, you know, they talk about screen memories in psychology. Mm-hmm. These are screen experiences for the real issue that's at hand.
And what would that be?
Oh, the Brotherhood agenda. But I think it's very, very in line with the agenda to set up some situations where, maybe they are fucking with people in various regards, but it's to help screen themselves from people actually trying to like figure out what's actually going on. So they'll look in the skies rather than looking at what's going on in Parliament in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at, how allegedly 33 of the 35 U.S. presidents have been related to each other. And that was at the time of like writing by Ike or whatever, but like half of them were related to each other through Charlemagne, and then the other half through can't remember their name, but I'm totally of the opinion that David Icke, whom we'll hopefully get into later, is correct in the shit he's writing about, and that these other UFO experiences are just ways to distract investigators from looking at what's really going on.
All right.
Because we have motherfucking reptilians from the fourth dimension. They're able to phase in and take over, fucking leaders and shit. And, hey, but don't look at your little buddy who's got his little Mason ring because he's a second degree little craftsman or whatever. It's not him, man. It's way deeper than that.
Let me just leave everyone with this. After everything we've said, there was an article I came across on the UFO Casebook, and it does go into
Prince Diana totally assassinated, man.
Okay, so
back and to the left, JFK, we know. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Here it is. Strieber's hypnotist, Dr. Donald F. Klein, was of the opinion that the novelist could be suffering from a temporal lobe epilepsy, a condition that produced hallucinations. But Strieber rejected this diagnosis and recounted his abduction experiences in the book Communion.
What the fuck? No.
Hold on.
Get the fucking probes in his nose by the doctors.
In 1987, Strieber received a $1 million advance as an advance for the film rights to his book.
What the fuck?
Now this is just like
in Community. He talked about how he went to like an earth doctor and had probes stuck in his nose, check for the type of epilepsy he was worried about, and it was negative.
Yeah, but again, that is in the book. I'm just throwing this article out there, can kind of leave it like a very dramatic effect. This is a very dramatic effect, and this could be a fraudulent article that I found.
Sounds like it, man.
This looks. And I'll say this from the website that I'm looking at. It almost looks like one of those Angel Fire websites.
Oh,
geocities.com/incredibly real conspiracy theories that'll blow your mind.
I just thought I'd leave our audience with that to kind of like just throw a wrench in the fucking cog there.
I'm looking at it here too. Holy hell.
So that I guess that should conclude our episode on Communion. Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah, we didn't go to the movie, but like we don't.
The movie we can talk about next later on, but that's going to be strictly for Patreon anyways. So,
sure. But
if you are listening and you do want to hear our thoughts on the kind of compare and contrast of the book to the movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, I mean, watch it.
Should we talk about like overall like quote unquote ratings maybe?
Oh yeah. That is
levels of believability or whatever.
We did kind of talk about our levels of believability, but let's talk about our ratings. A 1 out of 5 of this book. What would you give it, Daniel? Would you recommend this book for anyone to read?
Oh, absolutely. I'd give it like a 4.5 out of 5. His prose gets a little exhausting, but overall, it seems to be like a tale from a very like level-headed dude who's just trying to sort out what happened to him and Communion was the book that drove me into all of the Weirdville I went on, and so now I look at Communion like as a very like innocent take on extraterrestrials or whatever.
The primer.
Yeah,
not even a primer. No, just like it's a super innocent take on them. Like they want to bond with us basically. And okay. I don't know if that's the case, but it was cute.
It's it's like a gateway.
It was a cute little
book.
like narrative, really. Like all this fucked up stuff happened, but like they want to be friends. Hooray!
Right. Okay, so I'll leave Roland to last on this one since he went first the last time. I will give this book a solid 4 out of 5. And then Daniel, I think you talked about his prose or his writing style gets a little exhaustive after a while, but because it gets kind of repetitive, because but you have to kind of repeat certain situations in order to make sense of them. And I think unfortunately that's what we have to go through to get to the end of the book, and that's what he had to go through to kind of like rationalize what was going on in his brain or whatever was going on in his head or in his little reality there. So again, 4 out of 5. It is a good introduction, and as it is an introduction to Whitley Strieber and his accounts on his visitors, it is a good introduction to anyone kind of wanting to get into reading books of quote unquote books of the strange.
I would
books on
absolutely
UFO,
agree with that. Yeah,
books on UFOs, books on alien abduction, because this is, again, I think Roland said this before, it's kind of like superficial. It kind of like glosses over certain things. It doesn't get into like what extraterrestrials could possibly be.
No, and I was actually like really upset with his chapter on the triad.
Right.
Because it should have been about like 6 times longer.
Right, for sure. And the thing
of the iconography out there on triangles and shit. Like
there are books from, again, Eric von Däniken, Zachariah Stitchin, Jason Mars, again, David Icke.
What did Jason Mars write? Because I'm familiar with all the...
He's talked about like conspiracies and stuff like that, and it kind of goes along with UFOs and government things as well. We do also have books by they didn't write it. I don't know the author, but again, that talk about the abduction of Betty and Barney Hill. There's also the infamous Travis Walton that talks about his abduction, and again, also you can see the movie Fire in the Sky for that as well. But the whole
and the community affair, which I brought up earlier,
exactly,
which was also brought up in Communion.
That's right, and Missing Time by Bud Hopkins and stuff like that. This book is a good introduction if you want to get deeper, because if you get deeper, it goes into some crazy fucking
shit, areas. Guys. Like it's so entertaining, but it really fucks your day up.
So again, solid 4 out of 5.
On like what level you're at, like with it, like Zachariah Sitchin's various like there's this kind of like sci-fi, perspective on like how the Earth and Mars and Venus came to be. Although it's a little glim because it's like at the end it's like, oh yes, the Anunnaki and the elder gods made humans to do the jobs the Anunnaki were doing.
Yeah, the humans were meant to mine gold.
No, and also to maintain the dikes of the Tigris Euphrates.
Yeah, and
to farm and to build shit.
I think that goes into like the quote unquote the Planet X, the 10th planet that goes in like an ellipse.
It's the 12th planet. That's Marduk.
The 12th planet. Sorry,
which,
12th planet,
which has a wider orbit than all the other. Like it's still like within our like solar system, but it has such a it has more of an ovular orbit to where like once every like was it 12,000 years or some bullshit? It actually
I don't remember
passes
the
by
number
Earth.
of years. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like some extreme amount of time, and Zechariah Sitchin writes about how you could either ride the arc of the orbit of Marduk or ride the orbit from the planet with a spaceship to get to Earth faster to fuck with humans. And yeah.
Actually, I have I think a Scientific American magazine that talks about Planet X, and it's on the cover. Huh. I have it somewhere here. I'll bring it out to see if I can reference that at some point. But Roland, ratings for you on Communion?
I'd give this a 4 out of 5.
Really so high?
That's
amazing for you, buddy.
I like the information that he and his descriptions of the encounters. Holy
shit, man! Don't rate David Icke then, because he'll blow your fucking mind, man.
We'll see. I don't. So I can appreciate like how he goes about trying to figure out what actually happened, like how he tries to sort of research it. I don't like that he seems to take like a very sort of shallow dip into each possibility. But like you guys said, in his later books, he apparently like further explores his theories. His prose annoys
for better or worse, to be honest.
Yeah, for better or worse. His prose annoys the living fuck out of me. He's very repetitive because of that, from that. Like, it's if you ignore that though, like, I mean, it's not that it's poorly written when he talks about these things. Like they're, I guess he's seems to me to be like justified in like how he goes about explaining his mindset throughout all of this, but I would have just preferred it to be a lot more just sort of cut and dry, like, okay, this is what happened, this is what I think, and like this is what I observe from that. So that's, but again, like if you just look at that information aside from fucking the fluff that he put in here, it's pretty interesting. So yeah, this is probably one of the I mean, not that I have fucking read much of anything about alien encounters or that sort of bit, but this was a lot more interesting than most of the anything I've come across so far. And
well, I mean, I'll say this: most of the time when we're living together, Roland, or even prior to this, I was slowly gathering my library as far as books on aliens and shit is concerned, and I didn't really talk too much about it to people, and I did it in like secret because I mean the only person I told about this.
I would ask you.
Yeah, you would ask me, but I mean, like, I didn't ever like talk about it too much to people. And I mean, I know, and it was kind of like a joke, but I kind of like took it a little bit more seriously in the situation. But I mean, I think now, probably back then I probably was a little bit more insecure about it. But now I'm kind of just like,
well, Jesus Christ, Ray, even like as late as like 2010-ish, when I would like inquire about your book selection, she was like, yeah, I got some cool stuff. Like that was it, man. Not like, oh, let's talk about this selection. It was just like, oh yeah, I got some cool stuff. That was it, man. And fuck you for that. Like,
again, it's a bit of insecurity on my part of wanting to talk to or to like tell anyone about these kinds of things because
strange. So
yeah. And I mean, I had books on the occult and books about like Satanism and books about like aliens and shit like that. And I mean, most of the time I just got like weird looks from, again, other roommates, not you, Roland, necessarily, but saying like, oh, that's weird. Why are you wearing that shit, you know? But I mean, at the time, Roland, I mean, you were a bit of a person that was like, if I had said, "Oh, what about this?" You're like, "That's stupid."
I mean,
that doesn't sound like Roland at all. You're tripping.
Okay, like maybe when you first met me, but
yeah. But I mean, at some point or another, I just kept all this majority of the stuff to myself. I didn't really like go any further. And I think the most we went was when we watched like Ancient Aliens together.
When you lent me your copy of the fucking was that bullshit Necronomicon?
Yeah, but that was Lovecraft,
so
man.
like to me like I already I knew that was you know that was not necessarily bullshit, but it's just like that's just
it was silliness. A yoke.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was bullshit. It's Lovecraft shit, you know. I mean, I know
like
it's
you
just
would talk to me about Chariots of the Gods. You talked to me about
I remember reading. I remember reading Chariots of the Gods on the toilet for like 3 days, actually, and I like fucking busted to that book. And I was like, this is amazing.
I saw that. I saw that for the longest time. Like any I don't remember why. Like usually you'd ask me to get something from your room, or like there'd be something in your bathroom, and I'd see it there on the fucking toilet, and I would just pick it up and just zip through it. Like, it's not that I was ever like a skeptic, or I guess I would be, but like, someone that like wouldn't consider it a possibility. It was more along the lines of, or rather, it wasn't that I wasn't interested. It's just I was sort of indifferent. It's just like, no, I understand. Like that's a thing, and like there's information out there for it, but I'm gonna read this other thing instead.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. It wasn't like that. That I thought.
Again, but that's why I kept a lot of these things.
It's not that I thought you were a moron.
That came later.
Yeah.
Like that's not. That isn't why. That was something else. Yeah. But yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
I've always thought this stuff was interesting.
I'm glad we have this platform to kind of delve into these types of topics.
I guess since we're talking about UFOs, have you guys seen one?
I have not.
No.
I do have first-hand accounts from people who have seen them, and have seen them multiple times. And I do want to get them to recount their stories for this podcast.
Well, I can come forward.
Can you? Have you seen one?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. Actually, Shelby and I saw one night. We were 18 or 19. Like, we were like in the college times. I can't remember if it was like the summer before we left to college and we were separating for a while, or like a winter break. We were both back, but we were hanging out at my parents' house. Just I had a truck, and we were just laying on the on the bed of the truck, just bullshitting and shit. And all of a sudden, there was this little orb of light in the fucking sky, and we stopped talking for a while. And we were both watching it for a while, and then I don't remember who broke the silence, but one of us was like, "Do you see that?" And it made pretty much all the stereotypical like UFO story like movements and shit. It would change trajectories at angles and speeds that was probably very unlikely for our terrestrial craft or our craft.
Right.
And the funniest thing about it though is like it did this shit where it would start dipping down closer towards like the Earth, and whenever we actually started like talking about it again, it would start like shooting back up. And this is not some like weird bullshit story. It's just like the best of my memory of like what happened that night. And I got verification from Shelby actually recently on this. But the thing was, it was like not like it was like kind of like shot around a little bit and did the whole like would creep down. Then we started talking about it, would like rise back up, and then our end of the experience was just the little like blip of light just started like cascading further and further up into the stars, and then like we lost it, you know. But I hit him up recently because I've been reading all this like showing UFOs and aliens and stuff, and was like, dude, do you remember like that night? And he gave me the true skeptic response, though.
And what was that?
I know something happened, but I don't know what it was. But like, we definitely saw something,
right?
You know, like, and that was something I like tripped out and like kind of tormented for years because I was like, shit, man, and like particularly when I like fell into the UFO reading friends that had been in the last few months, like. Shit, and then that memory came back to mind. I was like, well, shit, was that a false memory? Was I just tripping, or what the fuck?
A screen memory, perhaps?
Yeah, a screen memory. Yeah, a screen memory of an actual UFO experience. Yeah, right. Actually, I almost got murdered that night. Yeah, that was the...
that was for a different episode.
But... yeah, like I've had like a UFO experience, and it was identified, you know, almost a decade later by my buddy, you know, and we were sober, you know. This was before I started drinking, you know, and it was.
You think you could get him like on record saying that? Or maybe giving his account, or so to speak, just literally hearing him say it.
Yeah, like I think that he would go like, I know we saw something, I don't remember what it was or whatever, or like I can't verify what it was, sort of bullshit. Like, because when we're talking about like, there was no indication or anything that he like really remembered any of the specific details, but but for me, like, it stuck out, man. Like.
But he does verify that something did happen. That is not to his knowledge what exactly it was.
Right. But he was just like, like I can't say what it was, but like there's something weird that night.
Gotcha. Well, I'm hoping we can get
and that would be cool if we got him on tape folks, for saying that, you know, because like fuck, I mean, I'm just drunk here at the end of a podcast saying like, oh, there's a thing happened to me when I was 18 or 19, you know, but
well, I'm hoping we can get more personal accounts on either UFOs, ghost stories, or even any other kind of sort of strange phenomenon that goes on in people's personal lives, and that they can go on record saying. They don't necessarily have to, like, we can keep their anonymity, but they can just tell us a story, you know, or even like write it and we'll read it.
You know,
on our own
I've got some ghost stuff, and that's I messaged you guys about it. I was like, holy shit, there's some ghost stuff that was confirmed like independently or whatever.
Right on. And I say this to both of you, if there's ever a point that you can talk to someone and you can record them yourselves, and by all means do it, and then we can put it on the show.
Oh fuck yeah! But if I actually happen upon an individual's willing to talk about like whether it was UFOs or ghosts or whatever, I feel like, you know, kind of my apartment, I have a headset. You know, we'll just talk about it. You know,
gotcha. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will conclude our episode.
Our meandering episode is fuck. And we didn't even get to like half of the shit I want to talk about, but I'm just drunk. Like,
we can always revisit things as things come to light. So we'll call it quits on this episode. That is our second installment of Books of the Strange, Communion, written by Whitley Strieber. And again, if you have any stories that you would like for us to recount, or you want to recount yourself, you can record via email. You can do that as well.
Or just send us a text over email. We'll read it over.
Yeah, send us a text. Or moquest@gmail.com if you want to type it out, and we can read it on one of our podcast episodes. We can do that as well. Make sure and subscribe on Spotify or on iTunes or Google Podcast. Share this with any of your friends, anyone who's interested in these weird topics. We very much enjoy going through these books or any of these weirdo topics that take a lot of time, to be honest with you.
It's super fun,
to go
man.
through. Yeah, it is very fun.
But it is exhaustive. Like, it also takes a bit out of you because, like,
it does. It really does.
Sometimes you're reading shit where it's like, wow, my sense of, or like conventions of reality are being kind of questioned right now. And
sure.
And it's not that you're like really rattled by it, but you're just like, well, what if? And the what ifs are the fun part.
Exactly.
And to those of you that have listened to us so far, like, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And do tell friends, particularly all you South American folks that have added us recently. You know,
for those of our,
it's gotten crazy, man. Like,
listeners in South America, thank you so much for listening to our stuff, and I hope you continue to listen, and we very much appreciate it. You can drop us a line on any of the social medias, and that is on MoQuest Studios and Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And share the episodes, check out our back catalog as well. Again, Fat Food for Fat People. We have Anatomy Mixtape for all your music nonsense. We have CineQuest Video, which we got some new ones coming your way this month. Right now we're going to be going over the Cornetto trilogy. We're starting off with Shaun of the Dead, so keep an eye on that. And don't know what the next episode of Valley Strange is going to be, because this one was kind of a long time coming. This was actually planned out back in like November or October. So
I have a stack of books that I've been like, oh, this year I've read this book, that book, just as a personal tracker. Right. But I don't remember if I read Communion last year or this year because of how long this like episode has been like planned out.
I've been carrying Communion with me for going. This is fucking April. I'm gonna say November, December, January, February, March.
It's like 6 months.
Almost like 5-6 months. I've been carrying this fucking book.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah. And I've been writing notes here and there, just kind of like skimming through it, and then of course recording other episodes and getting things moving along. But yeah, so social media. Subscribe on any of those streaming services. Rate us if you can on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Ratings help a lot to help people find these episodes. And again, word of mouth. Share it to people. Share it with people. But that's going to be it for us tonight. It is 12:07 in the morning. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm your host, Ray, and then we have in the Pacific Northwest studio. Hello?
Well, I'm here.
Yeah.
You just didn't really go like, hey, goodbye or whatever. But so,
I said, Ray, Pacific Northwest studio.
Oh, word. So at the Pacific Northwest studio, this is Dan. Thanks for listening, guys.
And Nowhere studio, somewhere in RGV.
This is Roland.
Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all next time. When whatever podcast comes out next. So
Laters.
All right.
Little midgets coming to my house. Hey, it's ridiculous. I had some kind of a rectal probe. It's ridiculous. My house. Hey, it's ridiculous. They took me out of the house and they stuck a needle in my head, and I had some kind of a rectal probe.